Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It is May the 14th of 2025. Yeah, we've been through all the Cinco de Mayo and the May the 4th and all that stuff. Now it's just May 14th. There's not a whole lot special really going on.
They're not
Unless
even
it's your
releasing
birthday
new
today, in which case it is special. Happy birthday to whoever out there it is your birthday.
Yeah.
I have to remember that because Nicole's birthday is coming soon.
If you're a May 14th baby, special appreciation and love to you. It's sad they're not even releasing a Star Wars movie on your birthday. Honestly, seems kind of criminal, but you know how it is. Honestly, they probably release a bad one on your birthday too. Not because of you. It's just because that's like most of the movies now are kind of bad. So statistically speaking, you're just going to hit a bad one.
And that's not even Star Wars movies. That's just most movies in general are bad now.
Well, hey, I saw Sinners. That was good. Thunderbolts. Cool. Not bad. It you know what? It's fine. They're good movies. Then there's also I don't know, what's a god-awful movie that happened recently? Madam Web, is that too past of a reference at this point?
I think
no one saw Kraven the Hunter, so we can't reference that. Or Venom 3. Like, Madam Web's kind of the big one to go to.
That's how you know that the movies aren't working, is that one of them happened and people weren't even widely talking about how bad it was.
It blows my mind that no one discussed Venom 3. That movie came and went and no one gave a shit. They were like, yeah, I guess I'll see Kraven. It's the end of this thing. But nobody was like, well, I'll see the end of this franchise that I think in total made like close to $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Like that first Venom movie did really well.
I was kind of stunned when I saw you and a few other people on Letterboxd were, putting out your reviews of that movie, because I was like, I thought that movie came out like months ago.
Which one was that?
Venom: The Last Dance. Oh, yeah. I thought we had just like passed it months ago. That was how little notice of it I had.
Honestly, if you saw the trailer, you basically saw the movie, and not in as much that
I didn't see the trailer.
Oh,
so there
damn.
you go.
But not even in as much that the trailer spoils all the best parts. It's that it has the substance of a trailer, and that there's just a bunch of scenes where something kind of remotely exciting is happening, and characters will say things with significance, and then it just ends. Although, special credit to the end of the movie, which is saying goodbye. Spoilers, I guess, for Venom 3, if you wanted to see it. Tom Hardy and Venom are separated at the end of the movie. And there's a montage of all the moments they've shared together. And I do think this is legitimately very funny of them. 75 to 80% of it are scenes from the movie you're actively watching. They're like, remember when we went to Vegas and we danced? It's like, dude, that happened an hour ago. What? What are you doing? I was annoyed at the moment, and I was like, this has to be intentional. Why wouldn't you have the footage for the other two movies?
That's so weird. Because, I remember them doing something like that for when Deadpool and Wolverine came out, where they were like, hey, this is just kind of to recognize that although the Fox Marvel movies were not generally very successful, a lot of work went into them, and there were a lot of them.
Yes.
So we've got all this behind-the-scenes footage. It's like, Venom had 3 movies. So
to be clear, this wasn't even a post-credits, here's this was in the movie. Diegetic to the plot is Venom and Tom Hardy are now separated, whatever is Eddie Brock. And Eddie Brock is reminiscing on their times together as that god-awful Maroon 5 song plays. And he just...
Oh, which one?
Whatever the one is that sounds like a Christmas song every time I hear about it.
Okay, if you say so.
I don't know.
I guess
Memories, I think. It's bad.
Cool.
Anyways, we have a lot of manga to talk about. So
we do.
Yeah, I think we should move on to that.
Yeah, okay. Sasaki and Miyano. This is a boys' love series that has been running since February 26, 2016 by Sho Harusono. It is about a couple of schoolmates in high school who gradually fall in love. There is Miyano, who is a first-year student. He's kind of short, has effeminate facial features, and he is into boys love manga. Specifically, he within universe reads a bunch of boys love series. He's very enthusiastic about them. And then there his upperclassman Sasaki, who's kind of a bad boy, tall, gets into some number of fights, is often late, so he's kind of labeled as a bad boy, delinquent. And Sasaki, after protecting Miyano at one point, and Miyano was kind to him in return, falls in love with Miyano, and it is about the two of them becoming good friends, actually bonding over sharing manga together, and eventually having their own romance.
Yeah.
So, Ichi the Witch.
Oh, that's me. No, look, this is a series. First and foremost, we should say why we did this. This is part of the 5 lists that I had on here, and this was number 1, which is the least crazy thing. The only reason this was even really recommended and like picked up is because this series was banned in a Florida school district because it happens to feature gay characters. At the point I got into, the characters don't even have sex or anything. I'm not even sure if they've kissed at the point that I've read to yet. I guess they have, but like they've kissed in as much that like you see the back of a character's head.
This is about as clean as Blue Box is and how pure the romance is like portrayed, I would say. It's on in that same tier at least.
Yeah.
I read the article reporting on that Brevard County ban, and the wildest part of it, there's 2 wild parts of it. One is that one of the judges who ruled that it should be banned opined that the right to left reading order was one of the reasons that they should ban it. So that's the level of asshole you're dealing with in order to ban something that is honestly as innocent as this. Also, the complainant who filed against this manga said that it was, like, oh, it's a gay, agenda and all that stuff, and recommended some series that students should read instead, which included The 7 Deadly Sins and Chainsaw Man.
Yo, what?
And my brother in Christ, because that's what it seems like you are, if you're complaining about a series being too gay and you say people should read Chainsaw Man instead, what the fuck are you talking about?
Imagine this poor Christian kid who's like, I wanted to read about the 2 schoolboys, and they're like, well, no, here's Chainsaw Man. I'm like, oh, what are these girls' legs doing together? But also just like the violence and gore of that series,
Absolutely.
the sheer adherence to just
people
like the world is
bonding
miserable.
to devils, like
that is crazy to have suggested
insane.
Chainsaw Man instead. That's wild. Yeah, the ultimate point, though, is that Sasaki and Miyano is a very innocent series. It is odd that it would be banned. Maybe, I don't want to say a good move because I don't think books should ever be banned, but honestly, I don't think I ever would have thought about this series or looked into it had it not been banned or like mentioned to us that it was. So maybe silver lining to all of that.
Maybe it would end up being just publicity for it, in English to English audiences. Maybe.
Which you can pick up, by the way. You can pick up this series from Yen Press if you want to support it in its physical form. Donate it to your libraries that haven't banned it yet. And I guess a copy of Chainsaw Man is like a quirky little gesture.
Specifically the one with...
yeah, specifically the chapter with the scissoring. But in addition, the series, I think, has some substance to it. Now, in full open transparency, the series, as you mentioned, is about 2 leads whose main sort of sharing connection point, and honestly kind of like the gimmick, quote unquote, to this series, is about boys love manga, a genre I am not particularly well versed in. So there's a lot of times where they're referencing genre tropes that I'm like, I can vaguely recognize some of them, but I also always forget who's the seme and who's the uki. Like I don't.
They're always using those terms.
I'm like constantly
throwing them around.
I forget which one's which, and I don't. I don't know if I want to commit it to memory, guys.
Just many conversations about how one character's like a seme, but they ended up being the uke, and it's like, this is a foreign language to me.
Now I will note, so to Femboy Connoisseur, who's in our chat, asking, I did read the first volume in the official translation, and then I'm not made of money right now, so I continued reading from there. I will try to support it, because they probably do just use top and bottom. That was probably a translation thing. But it is more that, when you're going into it, there is not a substantial amount of substance to the series early on. I think the first several volumes are kind of just characters pining after each other, which is cute.
If that.
But they don't really pine that. Like, they just kind of think about it every so often, and then chapters kind of end. It's honestly more of like a slice of life series about characters who's like almost have entered like a Toriko-esque world where everyone seems to have some connection to boys love manga. There are two straight guys in this manga. Both of them have girlfriends who are into boys love so that they can participate in the conversations as well.
It is very strange to see the amount of references to boys love tropes that get made by just everybody in this cast. And I don't know exactly how prevalent it is to talk about this kind of series among high schools in Japan. I don't. But it did seem a bit odd because it was kind of like, I tried to put myself in the aspect of like, let's see, if I were in high school and literally everyone that I knew were talking about not just gay romances, but like romances in general. Like I did not hang out with people who were constantly talking about romantic tropes. That just was not a thing when I was in high school. So I thought it was very, very unusual that was the case. But that's kind of the gimmick of the series. Yeah. That's fine. It is, I would say, definitely like the selling point of the manga, that it's like, hey, this is, a series about like a character who really likes boy love things and finds himself in a boy love scenario. Yeah. That's kind of the big thing. It's very much celebrating boy love series for just what they are, and is kind of deliberately not trying to be super subversive or anything like that. There are a few things that tend to happen that it really feels like just happened just because that's what you do in a boy love series. There's a couple of moments where Sasaki gets very fiercely protective around Miyano, puts his arm around him very possessively, and shows no sign that's like normally how he is in terms of his general demeanor, but because that's a thing that happens in a boy love series where the top tends to get that way around the bottom, he just does that. And it feels very weird when he's doing it because it seems otherwise very out of character to him. At least it did to me. That happens.
Sure. And I do want to sort of pull back and say, like, I did eventually find a substance to this series. Like, I think it is around the point where they finally do this school festival that they've been talking about for fucking ever, it feels like. Where they do the school festival, and Sasaki has a moment because he is 1 year older than Miyano, where he is like acknowledging that he is going to be graduating soon. And he just like gets excited as he's watching Miyano do a performance where he's just like, oh, I can't fucking wait to grow old and like spend more time with, like, I can't wait to spend my future with this person. That was like, oh, okay, we're finally getting into some substantial stuff. Like, I don't want to say the characters weren't deep before. It just felt like it was like, yeah, here's a character who's like, here's a character who's a bad boy. Like, what bad boy things does he do? And it's like, well, he gets in a fight in chapter 1 and nothing. And it's like, oh, well, what's Miyano all about? Like, he reads boys love series. Is there more? And it's like, well, he doesn't appreciate that people say he has feminine features. I'm like, oh, okay, that's something to kind of work with. Do they do anything with that? It's like,
he gets over it.
I mean, like, yeah, like they sometimes reference the fact that he does have that feeling, and like, I don't know, it's not like super substantial. It's like, oh, okay, so this is like slice of life. So they'll like go off on little adventures like, nah, usually at school. Usually kind of just chatting about boys love manga, and I'm like, oh, huh, okay, I guess that's it. But around, it just feels crazy to say, but around like 3 or 4 volumes in, I found it started to like get a little bit of like a substance. I did not read every volume of this as currently available. I got through 7 volumes, and then I just kind of reached a point. This was not like a particularly page turning kind of series for me, so I kind of usually stopped after one day or one volume after a reading session, and I was like, I think I'm pretty good here. But that said, didn't hate it. I thought this was fine. I'm able to appreciate certain moments of it. I don't know what it says about me that my favorite character is one of the 2 hetero characters in this series.
Oh yeah, Kurosawa.
Yeah, the dude's great. Dude
loves him.
Loves his girlfriend so much. It's just a super sweet, chill dude. Just seems like a real nice buddy to have in life.
I love all the jokes about him because he's just like does not give a shit. There's all this stuff where he's like he keeps finding himself in all these like boy love tropes, and he's just like, I don't care. I'm very comfortable with who I am. My girlfriend loves me. Doesn't your girlfriend constantly like imagine you with other guys? Yeah, but she's with me, so I don't care.
Who gives a shit?
I really appreciate that. He feels like the one character in this that I felt had a very strong identity and gimmick that I could actually find humor in. Because there's another character who's kind of like him, but with the exact opposite attitude. I think it's like Ogasawara. I think is his name.
I believe that's right.
He's just constantly freaking out because he's worried that his girlfriend is like, shipping with guys. And he's like, is she only with me because she imagines me having sex with guys? And everyone's like, have you tried talking to her? No, because that's very awkward for me. It's like, all right, well, this is not
the part
interesting.
The part I find more annoying in him is that he then has to like constantly be like, anytime something happens, to be like, I wonder if I should tell my girlfriend about it. I bet she'd go crazy for it. Like every time anything with Sasaki and Miyano happens, like 2 characters have to be like, I should tell my girlfriend who loves boys love manga about this. And you're like, huh.
Yes.
But in fairness, I think that's also a cultural difference. The series does delve a little bit into LGBT issues in Japan, but not like super deep. Like Miyano's mom, when she finds out, super accepting, honestly, like amusingly doesn't even care. And I think at the point I got to, Sasaki hadn't told his mom and dad yet, but his sister found out and briefly was like upset before revealing that she's just very concerned about him. And I was like, that's a very sweet sentiment to express, that she is worried, but not because of him being gay, but just what being gay in Japan in today's sense means.
Yeah, sure.
And that stuff's good. I appreciate that. I enjoyed that. I will say one of the more annoying things about this series is that, it's a school-based series, which has a very limited time frame to work with. These characters are only in there for 3 years, and that's it. Sasaki and Miyano there's an age gap, so there's only 2 years. The first year blows by in like 2 volumes. And then the last year that Sasaki's in school also blows by with Sasaki having confessed to Miyano and Miyano not ready to like confirm his feelings yet. It's just kind of like, just let me.
Yeah.
Like he confesses before spring break or summer vacation. And I think Miyano finally like confesses to him in like January of the next year. Like it's
Jesus Christ, dude.
A gigantic amount of time has passed, and you're like, that's wild.
If I had to draw a comparison with this series, this manga to me is like pretzels.
Okay.
Pretzels, some people love them, and also some people like can't stop eating them, because they're salty, they're a good snack, nice and easy. You eat it, you move on to another bag, or you're always ready for a new one. I generally don't really like pretzels. I think that some pretzels are okay, but if I have a pretzel that I don't like, it's like, okay, I move on and I don't have to anymore. If someone gives me a bag of pretzels and I don't like the pretzels, but I have to eat the whole bag, by the end of the experience, I kind of fucking hate pretzels. I don't think that there was anything in this manga that was bad, except for the fact that I was wholly uninterested in it, and I had to read a lot of it. It felt like I could not get through this. There's nothing in it that really fiercely annoyed me or that I thought was really bad. I could just recognize from the outset, this is not for me, and I'm stuck reading it and have to read a lot of it. I feel like the biggest complaint I have is with the gimmick of, just like the character is into boys love stuff, because there's a lot of references to tropes in it in a way that is really only one step up from one of the most annoying things in all of manga, which is this is just like a manga, except the character is saying this is just like a boys love manga. And it's like, yeah, if you say so, but who cares? Like, it doesn't matter even if that is the case. But the part that I thought was very strange was in that sequence where Sasaki has confessed to him, and so Miyano is like, oh, I don't know how to deal with that. He's got, just like his own feelings on stuff, and there is a long evolution there. One of the things that goes through his mind is, but I'm not into guys. And when I read that, I went, citation needed, because you're constantly reading boys love stuff. And I'm not saying if you read boys love stuff that you are automatically sexually attracted to guys. I'm not saying that's the case. I just thought it was a very unusual for what we knew about the characters to that point as the series had been written, for him to be as enthusiastic about those kind of series, reading them all the time, constantly excited about them, wanting to talk about them with people, but being embarrassed about it. And then to say, like, but I'm not into guys. It's like, okay, it would have been interesting for you to establish that firmly before that revelation, because again, it sort of feels like in that moment, you're just doing it because that's a common theme in boys love series, where one of the two love interests thinks that they're not into guys when they're confessed to, and then they have to deal with that. It was just awkward writing to me to have that not really be a relevant talking point until that moment that it came up. I know that they had established that there was the girl that he had been into, but having a girl that you're into one time in the past is not the same as like, but I'm only into girls, And if you're going to do that at all as well, fucking do something with it. Like, I feel like there's a whole lot of stuff there where it's like, this guy could be really deeply contemplating how he does feel about sex and gender in general, and it's really skated by very quickly.
I would find, like, even the girl that he had a crush on, I do not remember her name, and I apologize, she's barely a character in this manga. She shows up in like one chapter and then gets like addressed a couple more, and then shows up like again periodically later on, but like, she's not a main member of the cast. We don't get to know a whole lot about her. We don't get to really know a ton of her and Miyano's relationship, or what it was or what it wasn't. And I honestly, the biggest issue I had with the series is just that I felt like it needed like an extra little something. Like, the fact that the series is just called Sasaki and Miyano and not like a catchier title that infers more of the plot of this series. I mean, I don't need this to be like an isekai. That's like,
I love boys love, but I don't love boys.
Yeah, I don't need that necessarily. I feel like there should have been like an extra element to this, or something to just kind of like, I shouldn't say needed. I would have appreciated if this series had had like an extra element. Maybe they're vampires. Just throwing it out there. Something like that. We'll see.
Hey, vampires are big. Why not?
They're huge. They're going crazy in Japan for the vampires. Weird sinners made a bajillion dollars.
I'm boys love expert. Just a holding field.
just a holding field here. I love boys love manga, but they need one little thing: some creepy crawlies.
Come and read my Frankenstein's Monster Boys Love series.
They sew the cock on, then they suck it. I'm like, well, now this is a different kind of manga. There was
very heartwarming series.
This one... Another part's getting warped too. Anyways, I I do have some affection for this series. I don't think I will follow up on it again. I hope this is one of those series that Ninja, if he ever puts together like another like list of series that like what, because it's still running, like what happens
It
after we
is,
stopped
yeah.
reading it. I hope this is one that's just like after the alien invasion, our two leads have become like celibate warrior monks who have devoted their lives to fighting the resistance. Because as is otherwise, I feel like this series is going to be like they go to the mall in one volume, next volume they go to the arcade, next volume back to school. Like it just feels pretty simple.
There are so many pieces of media that are attached to this series. So if you read a little bit of it and you're like, I really like it, and you're in luck. There is a spin-off manga that focuses on some of their classmates. There is an anime series. There's a spin-off of that anime series. There's so much associated with Sasaki Miyano. So yeah,
And that I
check
think
it out.
I think that definitely speaks to, again, how we kind of started this, which is like, this is not necessarily like a genre we've spent a ton of time in. So perhaps that simplicity, honestly, is for the best. Like, I don't know, some people really like stuff that just is like chill and easygoing. And I say that as somebody who just
Yeah,
picked up a new volume of She Loves to Cook, She Loves to Eat. You know, sometimes you just want
yeah.
good vibes.
The thing that was kind of in my head was Komi-san, which is a very different series to this in like tone, but in terms of like the ability to like consume it long term, I see similarities there for the people who like those two different series. Like I haven't really gone back to Komi since we read it. Outside of I watched it when it hit Netflix with Nicole. But I don't have a huge hunger to like go out and consume more. But I know there's a constant like stream of it coming out, and some people are very glad for that.
It ended
And it
recently.
did it.
Yeah, it actually ended. And I have
Wow.
actually read, I think, like 60% of it. I need to catch back up. But I read several volumes after we did our review because I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah. But it's still going. So, all right. I'm going to forget about this by the end of the year. So there we go.
Oh, wait. Are we going to get to the end of the year? We're going to be like, and then we reviewed Sasaki and Miyano. Nick's going to be like, what?
I highly doubt I'm going to remember it. I'm just letting you know.
I enjoyed that Ninja asked, how does it compare to his favorite? And I'm like,
What is that?
I don't know what it is. I know we reviewed it. I believe I have a volume of it in my side room. I do not know what's in it.
Okay, let's talk about Ichi the Witch.
It could be full of fire ants for all I know.
I would remember that. Ichi the Witch, 33rd Hunt, Fates Entwined, featuring a very cool stylized color page at the start there.
Yeah, I feel like when they make the anime adaptation for this, that's going to be one of the shots they use in the opening or in the closing or something like that.
Gokuraku and Ichi are, of course, fighting because Gokuraku has fallen prey to the joyous sorrow magic's trial. All of that sorrow is causing him to go insane with bloodlust, and Ichi is reflecting on the time that they've had together on this little adventure, noting that, he met him and Gokuraku was very violent, had an intense bloodlust, but when he's not fighting with magics, he shows no enmity towards people. He shows the exact opposite. Underneath all that, he's a nice guy. And then we transition from Gokuraku being a nice, respectable guy to go insane with rage, mindless anger, and killing intent. And Ichi having to deal with that. And Ichi reacts, but before the two can come to blows, Descarus gets in the way, summons a shield, and cuts them off from each other in this very cool page and a half spread. It looks almost like she's danced into the middle of it. Yeah. It's a cool pose. She tells Ichi to get back, and Ichi apologizes because he's like, my body just reacted because he sensed bloodlust, and so he just acted on instinct the way he does with everything else. They see that there are these 5 globes sticking out of Gokuraku's back that are emanating sorrow, And the Joyous Sorrow magic says that each of the orbs represents 2 years worth of sorrow, a mantle of sorrow that slowly and inexorably injects into the body. So they declare the rules of the acquisition trial, which are that the challenger must bear the full 10 years of sorrow that have been accumulated, and should the challenger die, they fail. Third, should the trial be cleared, it will be Ichi who acquires the magic. So there you go. Because of that, a chain now connects Gokuraku and Ichi's hands to each other, because Ichi is part of the acquisition trial officially. So the way that the Joyous Sorrow magic puts it is like, oh, your fates are bound together. So, this is like teamwork, right? Obviously being very mocking over it. That means that Descris can't interfere because it's an official trial between the two of them. But they've prepared a more fitting opponent for you. And the Tapir, the Lord Bakugami main body, charges in and buffets Descris with its snoot, and then a whole bunch of eyes, closed eyes, appear on the magic's body. The Joyous Sorrow refers to this as the nozzle. The moment you fail the trial, it will awaken. When its countless eyes open, the country's sorrow will gush back down on its people. So it's a time bomb. They've got a time limit for the trial. So Descris like, all right, well, you suck. But Ichi can't deal with that. He's got to deal with Gokuraku, who, I do appreciate this, immediately is like, we're connected by a chain. Whata! Whips Ichi into the ground. He may be mindless with rage, but he still sees a weapon when he recognizes a weapon when he sees one.
He's seen a couple dog collar matches in WWE.
How many have there been in WWE?
I guess I should have said AEW, the company that I watched multiple dog collar matches on. But they had what, Texas bull rope matches is what I was thinking of in WWE. Yeah. Or just bull rope matches. I just know JBL famously had one.
What's wild about those is the variation between like the thing that they use to tie them together, because there's like the infamous one with Eddie Guerrero and JBL, and they've got the full bull rope with the cowbell on it that they bonk each other with. There's like the chain match that like Rusev and Cena had together, and then there's the ones where they have this like styrofoam looking strap which is like doesn't seem like it hurts at all.
They have one where they're just hitting each other with pool noodles.
They put on sock and boppers from the 90s and hit each other with those.
Classic.
So yeah, the Joyous Sorrow magic is really happy because like, yeah, I can make Gokuraku suffer with this, and I can make you suffer too. Hooray! Ichi runs into a problem, of course, right away, which is that he doesn't want to kill Gokuraku, and all of his combat experience and instincts are to just react to Gokuraku's trying to kill him by trying to kill Gokuraku. And he's like, I can't do that. And because he's not acting on instinct, because he's denying his reactions, he's in a hard spot, and it looks like Gokuraku's briefly going to punch the fuck out of him, and instead Gokuraku punches himself in the face. Like full force, it seems. And he manages to say, heart, head, stone down my back. Stab me anywhere but there, and I'll deal. Do what you've gotta. I leave this to you. And that snaps Ichi out of it. He gives himself a little slap in the face, gets his confidence back, and says, you got it. We're gonna make this work. And that is the chapter. Really cool little moment from Gokuraku there. I love not just like, oh, he had a moment's clarity from the influence of the curse, but he told him, you can stab me anywhere but these places. Yeah. Good stuff.
This fucking rules. Like, this is so cool. I love the implication. This is going to be like, kind of, not like a super violent affair, but this is going to be a real fucking, like, throwdown between these two. This is going to get kind of crazy. And him being like, look, you do what you gotta. These are the 3 places you can't hit me or I'll die, basically. But otherwise, go wild, like do what you gotta. And I don't know, I'm super excited. I think Gokuraku looks super cool at the end of this. I love that there is sort of the ticking time bomb of Bakugami that Descaros is presumably going to be dealing with, and just like, I don't know, the pieces are coming into place for a really exciting conclusion to this.
Yeah, it's been a very well built fight and all the setup for this arc. I know that at the very start of it, we were like, but there was purpose behind the pace to everything. It really feels exciting to see the conclusion of all of this that we've built up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Blue Box! Chapter 195. Stay right here. So Taiki and Chinatsu are not continuing their date, but they're continuing their date because they've lost one of the bags that Chinatsu got when they went out shopping, and so they're going around retracing their steps to try and find it. Chinatsu apologized to Taiki for this happening, and he's like, "It's fine. I got plenty of energy, and hey, I'm just happy to get to spend some time with you. Isn't that nice?" They run into Ayame and her boyfriend, and Ayame briefly exchanges greetings with Chinatsu, and she kind of drags him over to the side and says, like, "Hey, you better be grateful to me because she came to my sister and asked for help on the date outfit." She was going, and there's like little bits of the exchange that we see where Chinatsu's like, "Should I wear pants?" And Karen's like, "No!
Show off the legs, girl. What are you doing?"
And so the whole look was kind of like influenced by their input.
Yeah. Honestly, I presume is what is it? Karen is her name. I think. I assume this is Karen's dress that she's letting Chinatsu borrow, because this. I thought of that at the time. I was like, wow, this is a rather bold outfit for Chinatsu to wear, but it would make more sense if she asked for advice and wore something that someone else gave her.
I also just love the way that the wording of the exchange is done, where Chinatsu just comes in, "Pants? No!"
Well, that's what I assume what Karen's saying. Karen's like, "Pants? No way! What are you doing?"
I really want it the other way around. "Pants? No, Chinatsu!"
Chinatsu, what are you going to wear? Pants? Pants on date? Wear pants on date, please?
Cro-Magnon Chinatsu. And Ayame just, friendly vibe says, like, "Hey, you can thank me by cleaning the bottles for the next month." And kind of interestingly, like, as they're talking, her boyfriend just kind of looks at the two of them. And I'm trying to clock what that vibe is right there.
Dude just kind of stares, which, like, it's fine, but also, like, man, that dude, say hi. Like, he doesn't say anything at any point.
Yeah. It's just a little bit weird. I don't, and you can interpret it a lot of ways. I know that we've kind of been like, "You're the obstacle for Kyo" and stuff, but there's been a lot of focus on how he reacts to Ayame hanging out with people besides him. So this kind of feels like a key thing, but I don't know how.
Well,
exactly.
We know that last time he was comfortable with Ayame going because he's like, yeah, it's just like some nothing dude and this guy who's already dating somebody. I think it's a situation where he's just like not immersing himself into her friend group at all, which is like
maybe
kind of a weird move if you're dating and it's high school. Like, you see them all. So, I don't know. It feels strange, but also, I don't know. He's like fucking like 16 years old. Like, I don't know. He's still figuring himself out, probably.
Yeah. I mean, hey, maybe it's just going to be a matter of, because this is the thing. We've seen so very little of the two of them actually interacting with each other. Maybe the idea is going to be that he sees how comfortable and natural she is around just her guy friends than she is around him, where it's like they're dating and that's like a different mindset. But I don't know. I just know manga language, and it's weird that he's focused on for that tiny panel.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple shots that are intended to show that he is kind of just staring and looking, and I assume we will see at some point. There will be some like follow-up conversation, maybe Ayame and him are like on the rest of their date later, and we'll see him just be like, So you guys like super close, or what's up with that? I don't know. I feel like we're gonna address it at some point.
Taiki and Ayame have always had a bond since the day that she showed up. They get along really well.
But
So
that said, like that shouldn't be the issue. Like in my mind, I'm
I
like
know.
he's like he is already expressed like, well, the guy that she's talking to is in a he's on a date with the girl he's dating. So I'm not concerned about my girlfriend briefly having to decide with him. Plus, they're all friends with her sister, so like you'd assume maybe he doesn't know that stuff. I don't know. Like as I said, he doesn't seem to know a lot about Ayame's friends.
This is like the biggest sign of like how big of a fan I am of Blue Box, where I'm just like this one tiny innocent little panel. I'm like, what does this mean?
Back in the days with Lost, you used to be able to take those moments and create entire fan theories out of them. So I think now's the time where we say Ayame's boyfriend actually a serial killer and might be the one who actually locked Taiki in that closet back in the day.
Yumika is also on a date with her boyfriend.
Yeah, Kurosawa from Sasaki and Miyano.
What an interesting crossover that would be. Yumika's secretly really into boys love manga.
She is. She's super into it. And this guy, of course, super big girlfriend guy. It would make total sense. So
huge girlfriend guy, does not have a single problem with her being really into boys love. Really getting kind of sick of this basketball thing.
Yeah, he's like, I'm happy you're doing it. I'm happy you're finding appreciation. But I'm not getting to hang out with you as much.
There is, so like, they bump into each other, exchange friendly greetings. Chinatsu and Yumika are like, Yumika says, gonna be playing basketball soon, you should come too. They talk about maybe doing stuff in college, and Yumika's boyfriend leans over to Taiki and it's like, man, all they talk about is basketball. Well, I tell you. Taiki's like, I don't see a problem with that.
Taiki's like, you don't also talk about your sport of choice all the time you can?
I don't play sports.
He's like, is Pokemon a sport?
I do like that there's a little moment where Yumika, says like, oh, we're talking about college in front of your boyfriend. He must be worried. And he's like, I've already gotten past that point. We had that whole character development previously.
I'll have you know I'm quite mature and only just recently freaked out about that.
Also a brief flashback from Yumika's perspective about guys everywhere being like, man, Chinatsu's so cute. And her being like, basketball.
She really does have just the most adorable expressions.
I like the way that they put it where Taiki's like, oh no, she's never felt like a beginner in romance to me. And everyone's like, that's because when she went after you, she went after you. So, hey, when you like someone, you like them. That's nice, though. Yumika says, hey, well, I feel really safe knowing that Chinatsu's going out with a guy like you, which, hey, that could be nice or offensive depending on how secure you are with yourself. And it seems like Taiki's secure with himself because it doesn't take offense to it. Chinatsu's happy about, the idea of basketball with Yumika. They keep on walking some more, but Chinatsu starts like hurting her feet because she's not used to walking around this much in boots, because it's an outfit that she is not used to wearing.
Smidgen of a heel on it, too.
Mm-hmm. So she sits down on a bench somewhere, and Taiki's like, oh, I'll go get you a Band-Aid, and because she's gotten a blister. And so Taiki runs off. Chinatsu thinks about how nice he is, and she worries about the fact that, they're going separate ways for a bit, but she's focused on the fact that she just wants to be close to him. And she notes that even when Taiki is like trying to be more casual and open with her, he's always kind of like reverting back to politeness with her still. We saw the big step forward when he didn't call her senpai, and it's like that's after they've been dating for a year at this point. And then she gets nervous about the fact that they held hands and cuddled up under a blanket. And, oh my God, the scandal. And she just literally goes, I want more. And it's like, well, yeah, I kind of expect you would. You've been dating a year. Two dudes show up and try to hit on Chinatsu. And so she says, yeah, I'm waiting for someone here. And they say, oh, is that also a girl? And she says, no, it's my boyfriend. And take the hint, guys. Go away. And of course they don't. I say, oh, you're just saying that. You should come hang out with us. Come on. I've been wanting to get myself a girlfriend. Come on. And at that moment, Taiki shows up. He's got the bag from the drugstore. And he says, I'm her boyfriend! And they accuse him of being average. And he says, would an average boyfriend zoom to the drugstore on a different floor and make it back within 2.5 minutes? What a good guy.
Taiki, did you remember to breathe while you were doing that? That seems like inhumanly fast. How long was the actual transaction part? Yeah, like you had to ring it up.
I don't know why these guys think that they should still keep going after Chinatsu, but they literally try and pivot around him.
It's so funny. These dudes are like, well, it ain't done. It ain't over till it's over. So they really keep trying.
He has to box them out like he's setting a screen for on the basketball court, and he just gets them to finally go away. And I love how he's just like, until they give up. Chinatsu is smiling by the end of this, as she should. And then we get home. Oh my god. I don't know if we should be reading this. Taiki asks to put the bandage on Chinatsu's foot. And my god, you guys are in public. Calm down. Gets the boot off. Puts the band-aid on her heel. Well, her ankle. Back of her ankle. But while Taiki is down there being a sinner, he spots the bag that Chinatsu had left behind. And yeah, I guess that they stopped by this same bench on their first way through on their date. And so she's like, oh yeah, I guess at one point I was waiting with you. And there's a moment where we see that she was kind of like interacting with a small child and got distracted. So left the bag there. Yeah. So she apologized for that, and they're just kind of like, very sweet to each other about it. Head out, and Taiki, hey, is your foot okay? Can we, walk a little slower? Aw, wants to spend more time with her. And Chinatsu comes up with an idea, which is, well, I've got the keys to my new apartment, so why don't we stop by? And they go to the apartment, and there aren't any lights yet. There's like no furniture anywhere, so it's just kind of empty. So she sits down, and Taiki's concerned about her foot some more, and she's like, my foot's okay, but I want to be with you a little longer, so stay right here. And she pats the floor next to her. And at that moment, Taiki remembers the time that she didn't kiss him over the scarf. What's going to happen, Quinn?
Well, she's still.
Are they going to?
She's
are
still
they going to
scarf.
get the first base?
The scarf's still there. That cock blocking scarf.
I adore this chapter. It's. I don't know. I just really like these two.
Yeah, it's a very, very good chapter. Very, very sweet. Moving on, though, real quick to Dandadan, Nick. I think that's what's next, right? Kaiju's
It is.
Yep. Dandadan, chapter 194. We've been hijacked. So
I'm trying to do a pose.
Yeah,
like Mama there.
Yeah, you're doing the Mama Kito pose where she has her anaconda style, I believe she calls it later on. And just a full-on fight immediately breaks out. Mama Kito is is trying to find Momo, who's literally like standing on her thigh, and she's just like, where is she? Where is she hiding? Momo's like, I'm right here.
I'm right here.
Yeah. But there is a moment where Seijo is like, hey, who are these people? And Gigi is like, oh, they're landlords from like the village I was at. They're making human sacrifices. And we're reminded that they don't seem to remember things quite the same way. They're like, actually, you killed a lot of people, not us.
I love how the detail is that they say a whole bunch of people died, and Momo has to say, nobody died. Not even like who was responsible. No, nobody died.
Nobody died in this scenario at all. As I said, full-on violence breaks out. Rhea gets punched by one of the adults who's just like, come on, you're young. You got to be able to have more in you. And the adult who punched him has Zuma grab him by the jacket. And he's like, oh, there's somebody hiding over here. That ain't right. You can't be hiding when your buddy's taking a beating. So, he just starts getting punched. Zuma just starts getting punched in the face by this guy. And Rhea tries to interfere. One of the other adults kind of stops him. And while that's happening, Zuma grabs onto the head of the guy that he's with. And he's like, hey, that your head? And then just punches him super hard in the face. It's so such a cool moment. And uses it, gets wailed on again, but uses getting wailed on to find the guy's head. And then headbutts him. And then immediately he goes like, where'd he go? Because he knocked the guy out. Like, the dude's on the ground now. He's just like, where is he? And wanders over to Momola, and he's like, oh god, I found some kind of freak. And I found that very funny, as Momola was just like, get back under the seats.
Go hide.
Yeah. There is a moment where one of the Keto family members, like its mama, is like, we're going to make you feel all the hate of the people you killed. And hate reminds Gigi of the evil eye and everything like that. And he's like, oh, evil eye, stop. You can't come out. You made a promise to Okaru. And Mama Keto is just like, you still doing that? I really would have assumed you would have exorcised that little idiot. Well, she's like, go ahead. Let him out. Who cares? And she's starting to fight with Seijo now. They're starting to have a little bit of a showdown, basically. When all of a sudden, one of the engines of the plane explodes, Nick, and the plane starts to free fall.
Something happening on the wing of the plane.
Yeah. It's not a gremlin, though. The whole thing, one of the engines straight up has...
Well, as far as we know, it's not a gremlin.
That is true. We haven't seen the entirety of the situation. There could still be gremlins. The plane's going down. One of the engines explodes, so Gigi takes a look out of the window, and we end the chapter with a 2-page spread of a tornado that has an ear, a nose, and a mouth, and a series of sharks caught up in the tornado. It's a Sharknado, Nick.
That's a really weird-looking gremlin.
You know what? That could be qualified as a gremlin, though. By the right other circumstances, that could be a gremlin.
I really did linger on this 2-page spread when this chapter came out. Just kind of going, what the fuck is happening?
I love that it's Sharknado. I refuse to believe that this is anything but a reference to that. Sharknado feels exactly like the kind of shit the Dandadan author would probably be super into.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the tornado has body parts. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, things looking bad. I don't assume the pilot had spirit energy and is also still here, so I don't know who's flying the plane either, or if they need to.
Yeah, I appreciate how chaotic the fight is in this chapter.
Yeah.
And what a weird visual to end on. So that's about all I got on that. It's just a cool, fight scene. But I do really love how badass Zuma is. I love the detail of him, like, there's your head, and then immediately taking them out.
Zuma is extremely good in this chapter.
Kaiju number 8. Chapter 126. They've gotten the Meireki Kaiju in place for Mina's giant-ass rail cannon to take aim and fire. She shoots with the cannon, but the Meireki Kaiju sees it coming, and one of its eyes opens and point blank counters it with its own beam and stops the blast from hitting it. So everyone's like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? But Mina just says, hold! And she just keeps on firing with the thing, even though she's, already bleeding at this point. Warnings immediately start going off about short circuits happening. The barrel heat is rising. The thing's going to overpower, and Mina's going to overpower as well. So she's being warned to evacuate. She's like, I gotta keep on shooting, though. But fortunately, Kikoru comes swinging in. She's got her axe, and she begs to Numbers Weapon 4. I know you're already at your limit. Just give me one more attack. And we, of course, have seen her combat potential dropping. It's at 50% now. And she says, just one more attack. And suddenly it surges up to 93% as she swings. And as she does so, the image of her mother is kind of pushing down on her weapon. And she thinks to herself, a Defense Force officer is the spear of the state, the shield of the people, but this attack I'll give to you and you alone. And she says that while thinking of her father and when he was, friendly and stuff instead of being a hard ass after her mother died. She smashes her axe down on the American Kaiju's head. It cuts off the beam weapon, and Karaunas's beam obliterates the Marioka's body, splits it open, and creates an opening, as Kikoru calls out for Kafka. Big two-page spread for just screaming for him to take the final shot. And Kafka's in position at the core, which is heavily shielded, but he's right in front of it, gearing up for an attack, and he says, "Leave it to me." And that is our chapter. I thought this was cool and wished it had happened 6 months ago.
I agree. Like this is like extremely cool vibes. I love the moment of Shinomiya being like, "I'm gonna give it to you and you alone." All the stuff with her dad, the final attack, all that stuff's really good. Just we've been in this fight for like a year, and we're also fighting this fucking thing that has no personality anymore, and it's cool, but it could have been cooler a while ago, as you said.
In the words of Hans, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that this seems like it's ending though, right? Like I don't think there's like another arc of kaiju after this, right?
I don't know. In the words of Han Solo, "You're all clear, Kafka. Now let's blow this thing so we can all go home."
Yeah,
like that's where I'm at right now with this. You better not have another core, you stupid fucking giant.
Oh, if there's another fucking turnabout, and they're just like, "Don't worry, Reno's gonna really power up again." I'm like, "He already did that."
He already did that. Everyone's had their moment. Go away.
Several characters have had multiple moments in this arc.
Spy Family, mission 116. Hey, it's time for yours mission as they're going poacher hunting together with, oh gosh, I'll remember their names later.
Hemlock and
Mr. McMahon. Director McMahon. Director McMahon. Director McMahon.
Oh, you know what would make this trip a lot better? Why don't you take all of your clothes off?
God.
You two, Hemlock, start lifting some weights. I want some big biceps on you.
Inject all these steroids right now. Turns out Director McMahon has a pet falcon who is just perched on Hemlock's head, pecking at him occasionally. And he's like, "Why is this here? Can I kill it?" And McMahon says, "Well, that's my pet, and we need her to scout from above." "Well, since it's your pet, it's attacking me, so can I kill you instead?" This is attacking your orders. And I love how yours just like completely ignoring this. She's like, "Oh wow, I didn't know you had a pet. We have a pet dog named Bob."
This is so adorable. This is one of the cutest things. She just like she ignores that violent part of the conversation. She's like, "You guys have a pet? I have a pet too," and she just wants to talk. Like it's so cute.
Hemlock accuses Yor of having been softened by domesticity, which is a great word. And she says, like, "I mean, I only got married so that I could, continue doing assassin jobs and stuff." And Hemlock says, "Are you sure that marital bliss hasn't made you soft?" And Yor's like, "I mean, I wouldn't call it marital bliss, but,
We don't even kiss.
They don't even share a bedroom."
Yeah.
She reflects on the determination she had all the way back during the cruise arc and says that being married has just strengthened my resolve about our work. Hemlock is like, don't really believe that. But McMahon holds up his hand to show off he's got a wedding band and says, "I'm married too. You realize that, right?" And Yor's curious about that and says, "Oh, what kind of person is your wife?" And he says, "She's a civilian, so we do not discuss my work." And so Yor says, "Oh, does that cause problems for you the way it does for me?" And McMahon says, "No, not really. We were an average family. I'm just kind of like, my civilian life is I'm a husband who is dominated by his controlling wife," which Yor's like, "Oh, wow, your wife must be like some woman, from what she knows." And then she says, "Do you two kiss when you get home from work?" So innocent. And McMahon says, "Yeah, in our younger days, yeah, I guess we would do that." And Yor's be like, "You guys
Kissed?
And Hemlock says, like, "He's more of a manager anyway. That doesn't really count. You're a pruner, Thorn Princess. That's all you should be. You're a professional killer." But he starts to go off on this whole diatribe. But the Falcon flies off, having spotted something. And so the man says, okay, we're in the habitat of the Mitteran elk, where the poachers are hunting. So we're going to continue the car here so we can continue stealthily. And the three of them start Naruto hopping through the branches.
I love yours little anti-poaching outfit. It's very cute. The
Her
little
Jill Valentine
beret.
cosplay.
Yeah, the twin tail she's got going on, the holster. It's adorable.
It's about time we got another great
She,
Yor outfit.
she has a little scarf tied around her
She's
neck.
got an ascot, Quinn.
Like,
yeah.
Why would she need that? But it's adorable that she does have it.
I like that there's a ring-tailed lemur who is just like, what the fuck is a human doing up here?
Yeah.
McMahon cautions them, but Hemlock just points out, like, hey, just so we're clear, all the poachers, we can kill them, right? And McMahon says, well, if they're on the SSS's list, then yes, just make sure to take the leader of the poachers alive, which Hemlock takes as, that means we can kill basically everyone. Awesome. So, great assassin. Yeah, definitely, definitely want someone like this to be an assassin. And Yor spots an antler that has just sitting on the ground, and but McMahon realized, like, okay, this is from another species, though. Bucks of most species shed and regrow their antlers, so this came off naturally. Mitteran elk do not shed their antlers. So their antlers are much, much larger because they're continuously growing, which doesn't seem healthy. But they continue tracking, see some human footprints. McMahon's falcon scouts ahead, and they spot a Mitteran elk, and it's very big, and it has big antlers. Yup. Hemlock snaps a branch off of the tree that he's on and throws it, and it looks like he's attacking the elk briefly, but instead he throws it right in front of the elk and spooks it and makes it run away, and he's done so in order to scare it away from a trapper snare that it was about to walk into. So that happens, and then they hear a gunshot, as the poachers have resorted to a much more direct approach to just shoot that thing. And this thing is huge. Now that you actually have humans near it for scale, its head is about the size of a human being, and it's taking multiple gunshot wounds. And it gores someone like it's one of the unicorns in that movie that just came out about a month ago. Just right through the stomach. Well, I guess that you weren't prepared for that. And then two of them get their heads cut off because Hemlock don't take no prisoners. Those guys are dead, cane sorted. Yor throws a kunai through the back of a guy's head and it goes all the way out the other side.
I always forget this series can get violent. Like, it doesn't happen as much, and like when Lloyd does it, he's just like, shooting people with a gun or whatever. But I always forget, sometimes this is like a samurai movie where characters just get limbs cut off and blood will like fountain out.
And Hemlock goes to go after the last two hunters with a couple more like throwing knives, but McMahon tosses a rock to deflect one of them and set it off its path. And Hemlock asks why he did that, and he explains, we need to follow him back to their camp. But in the midst of all this, the elk is still spooked, and it's attacking Yor by just like continuously like tossing her up in the air. So presumably it's like trying to gore her the same way it did the hunters, that she is not getting gored, she's just getting tossed. So they have to calm it down before they can head off and pursue after the poacher who got away. Hemlock acts like, well, I'll just cut its head off then. And Yor says, well, our job is to protect the elk. You can't do that. And Hemlock says, our job is to eradicate the poachers and anything that impedes us. And McMahon's like, no, that's wrong. And his falcon picks Hemlock on the head. And he says, look, I will pursue the poachers. You two try and calm the elk down. And once I found their camp, I'll send my Kiki to inform you. So he heads off. Yor is still getting tossed up in the air, increasingly comically. She's doing like little swirly flips as it's happening. And so Hemlock again, like when he sees Yor struggling, it's like, I told you were weak. You've been made weak by marriage and stuff. So he starts attacking Yor, tosses something at her, which grazes her neck and knocks her cute hat off, that bastard. And he says, this is an impediment to my work. You sucking now. no one's told me I'm not allowed to harm you. And he approaches her with his sword drawn. So this guy's a little bit weird and crazy.
Yeah, to the point where you're almost like, why would you let this guy be a part of your organization? This guy seems like he's far too unstable to be trusted to do, like, covert work of any kind.
Right. You're going to draw attention.
But I guess maybe if you're like, look, if you just need a group of people dead, he's the guy to go to. Anyways, this was a fine chapter. Like, I like it. I do not like Hemlock. Now, granted, I have not liked a lot of characters in this series on their initial introduction. Some of them I eventually warm up to. But right now, Hemlock just seems like unnecessarily antagonistic, to the point where I'm like, is this the bad guy of the arc, or is he still supposed to be an ally? Because this guy is kind of an asshole.
He doesn't have a comedic quality to him yet. It seems like either this is not going to be a character that lasts long, or we're going to get the big comedic element to him later.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll see how that goes either way. But I totally get you there. He's just very aggressive and not in a funny way.
Exactly. But it is what it is, Nick. Embers.
Remember the name, Chapter 14, back then. All right, so Haitani and company have, of course, proceeded to their match with bad guys, Kurobayashi. And Haitani is really, really hyped up as they're practicing. He's doing really well in sprints. And they're like, man, you're really, really competitive, aren't you? And Haitani says, no, not really. And so they point out, like, it's like, are you sure you're not competitive? And he's like, well, no, my grades are the worst in class, and I don't care. It's like, okay, you should care somewhat about that. But he says, like, yeah, I've never really cared about like winning fights or anything like that. So he admits the only thing he's ever really been this worked about is soccer. Mm-hmm. Yukizuki comes in. She's like tied, like a headband around her head. She's swinging a kendo stick around. So she's really, really hyped up about this. And she's like, more running. Yes.
Nick, did you see what Ninja posted? Remembers the name? Embers? It's like it's been there for us the whole time.
Yeah, and I didn't catch that connection at all. No.
Wait, have you always been referencing that?
Yes.
Oh. I just thought we wanted to bring more Mike Shinoda into our life.
Okay, so she's really driving everyone hard, swinging her kendo stick around. Doesn't attack anyone with it, fortunately. And some of the other members of the team, kind of like note to Haitani, she's kind of like you a lot in a way. And Haitani doesn't get this at first. The day passes. It's now nighttime. They are killing themselves on runs. And fortunately, they're going to just like take the next day off. It's not like they're doing this the day before their match or anything like that. But everyone collapses, and they're like, "Thank God, we're done now." But Yukizuki stops by them and says, "What makes you think you guys are done? You've got one last drill left." Fortunately, it's that they're going to a public bath, and they're going to relax there. So Quinn, you know what? Fuck it. The series is gonna end. Skin.
What do you mean? It could last forever. And maybe it should have done this sooner. Maybe the boys should have taken baths from chapter 2.
Look at how attractive these guys are. Come on. So apparently they just have this tradition before big games where they just go to a public bath together. Fair enough. There is a little bit of shenanigans with the guy who really likes people's muscles. And then Haitani's, having a conversation with Bugai. And he says, like, hey, what's this about me and Coach supposedly being alike? And Bugai says, what, in looks? You don't look anything like her. Missed out on this entire conversation previously. But eventually someone brings up, like, it's how competitive they are. When they lose, both of them cry. And we cut over to the girls' bath where Yukizuki and Himeko? I'm going to never remember this girl's name.
But we talk about it at the start of every recap. Remembers the name.
I know. So, so they're talking about something that Bugai had told her, which is that, like, yeah, apparently she, like, you know, she also cries when they lose. And she's like, it was just last year, just one time, shut up. But Himiko brings up, like, I actually think it's kind of cool that, you know, you did, because you lost against Kurabayashi last year. If I was in your position, I would have just given up on that game from the beginning. The fact that you cried when you lost means you never gave up. You kept on caring about trying to win until the end, essentially. And that's a neat little perspective, I think, to have on that. So we also could drop in with Haitani and company for a bit. So he says, like, you know, it's kind of weird because it's not like coach is out on the field when we're playing, you know, getting, you know, in the dirt and stuff like that. So what's there for her to get frustrated about? And they say, like, well, do you get, you know, peeved and frustrated every time? And he's like, no. And that's why I'm confused. Bugai draws a comparison, which is, it's like milk. It quenches thirst, but that's not the only reason you drink it.
Yeah.
It's...
Carry on.
He says, milk also tastes good. It feels great after a bath. You've got expectations for what you'll get when you drink it. What I'm saying is, victory isn't the only reason we play.
I really hope it was meant to be a character trait that we haven't had time to explore, that Bugai just doesn't understand analogies. Like, he just doesn't. He doesn't get them. Like, somebody was like, oh, yeah, like they had analogy class, and, like, the teacher explaining is like, yeah, I get it. Like, how our coach, like, doesn't, you know, like to give up. So it's kind of like drinking milk. And, like, the teacher was just like, what? He's like, yeah, you know, like how you drink milk and it's really got nice after a hot bath and stuff like that. But, like, you know, our coach also wants to win sometimes. Like, Bugai, what the fuck?
Give me after class. You need remedial lessons. Like, oh man, I'm gonna have to drink so much milk after this.
That reminds me a lot about milk.
Like, every single, like, literature class is like, the characters in A Tale of Two Cities are a lot like milk.
I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, did you just like, were you thinking about milk? Why was this the thing you went to? Like, you almost wish somebody was drinking milk in and of that moment so you could at least be like, you know, actually someone is. Okay, so that's why. Yeah. He is an idiot. He did just grab a bottle of milk and he's like, you know, it's like it's like milk. You ever just have milk? he's just kind of improving at this point.
After that little comparison, we see that Haitani had some conversation with some classmates who are like, this is the reason why I want to win at soccer. It's so that I can be admired. It's so that, like, I'll get college recommendations, etc. So Haitani is now outside by himself, and he's thinking about, like, oh, what you get out of winning. He's thinking about that in reflection to himself. And Yukizuki comes up to him and sits with him, and they start talking. And Yukizuki's like, fucking Bugai, talking about how I cry. He says this to everyone. What the fuck? That milk, this guy.
He didn't bring up that fucking milk analogy, did he?
Oh, yeah, he was really enthusiastic about it. God damn it. It's just going to confuse you.
Yeah, I understand why you work so hard for our team, coach. It's because of milk.
You love milk. You really want to have it. You really want to got
He
milk.
doesn't even get the analogy, like, that was suggested before. He's just like, you know, you really want to get milk, so you want us to win, and that somehow
winners get milk.
Yeah, only winners get to have milk, I guess. So yeah, you really love it. You want us to win so you can have as much of it as possible, which is important.
That's why all the people in those commercials had to paint the milk mustaches on us, because they didn't actually get milk because they didn't win.
Terrible.
Sad state. So, yeah, they reflect on, he confides in her as like, yeah, everyone's got these, like, reasons for, like, wanting to win. And he says, I mean, I don't really have that, though. And he admits that, you know, when he was into fighting and stuff, it eventually got boring. And he wonders if the same thing is going to happen with soccer. And that's kind of a worry for him. And so he asked Yukizuki's like, so why do you want to win? What's your reason? And he's like, you know, because I want to know why you cry all the time, basically. So she has a flashback to, when Kosei lost and she was being comforted by her team while she's crying, and she says, "I'm sorry" to them. And in the present, she says, "I wish we could have a longer summer together as a team. That's all." And Haitani reflects on the lead up to his first soccer game, when he and his gang were really enthusiastic about, like, oh, they gave us uniforms and stuff. We're here after all the hard work we did, and then they got their asses crushed, and it was over. Like, immediately they were done and couldn't play anymore. And he remembers how devastated he was and how he cried, and so he gets it at that point. Yukizuki gets up to go to bed, and she says, "Yeah, you should get back inside too." And he says to her, "Coach, this summer is going to be a long one. I'll make it a long one."
Tragic for a series that is likely going to be done in the next dozen chapters.
So yeah, it's the next day, and we get, a recap of the fact that Kosei has just lost to Kurabayashi every time that they've gone up against each other. So we get the scrum beforehand. Yukizuki's got everyone together in a huddle, and she says, "Yeah, we've lost 5 for 5 against these guys, but we're going to get our first win today. So for this win, run every second you can, take every shot you can, score every goal you can, show them we aren't who we were before." And they're all hyped up, and they head off to take the field.
So worth noting... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So worth noting that the condition for succeeding in this little game last time is that a Rubik's Cube guy gets to start the next game off on the bench. So I imagine we are going to get some level of like, hey, things aren't looking so bad, until this guy gets onto the field and it's like, oh no, actually they're really tough.
Yeah, Nerima's definitely going to enter, you would think, because if you're not going to do it at this point when the series has been polling as badly as it is, then when are you going to do it?
Yeah.
I do really like the last couple pages of this chapter. It feels like we should have had something like this before. I know that this is something that, again, Haikyuu did this way better. Just like, I just want to keep on winning because I love playing volleyball, so I just want to stay on the court. I'll be the last one on the court. But I think that there is a nice poetic sentiment here of like, look, I just want us to keep on winning because that means we get to keep on playing together, and that's just what I want to give to everyone. And I really like the promise that Haitani makes to her of like, I'm going to make this a long summer for us. I think that's sweet. I like the bonding between coach and player here, and I feel like there's like an indication of like, hey, if this had been a series that had caught on more, we would have gotten some more cool moments like this. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it is what it is. It's a bummer. I like the most of this chapter. I truly do not get the milk analogy. I like, even rereading it, I'm like, milk. I don't get how this explains how the coach can get satisfaction from victories when she's not playing on the field. It feels like that should be a very simple thought process to explain. But for some reason, Bugai went to milk, and I don't get it. It really should be like, I really just hope he does another analogy at some point and uses milk again. It would be the funniest thing in the world to me.
It's like milk. Victory needs to be pasteurized and held at a temperature of...
That's when RFK comes in. Actually, victory should be raw.
God. Trust me.
What about me and the way that I look and sound would make you think that I don't have your best interests at heart?
Worm comes out of the head.
It's the Beetlejuice worm, like the striped one with the teeth.
And we're going to kill those Andalite scum.
I'm like, Nick, remind me how Animorphs ended. Did it go well for humanity? Like,
fairly well.
Okay.
Because they got rid of the anyway. Chapter number 41, Sumire Invasion. Sumire, who is, secretly a big Hima head, and was a childhood friend of Himari's, has kind of insisted that she, look into this whole weird situation of Iemori working for Himari. So, she's just kind of like, Terasaka has just kind of like barged her way in there. Sees the fact that Himari's got a really cool house because she's, rich. And Iemori gets dressed up with his like apron and cleaning gear and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, I guess that you really do just work here. That's even worse than you just being a stalker. I'm not gonna leave Himari here when she's a popular influencer slash it girl slash high school girl boss, because what guy would not take advantage of this situation?" And Iemori's like, "I'm just here to clean." Iemori, bless him, says, "Yoshino, tell her there's nothing between us." And Himari is like, "Well, yeah, I guess, maybe." Oh no, because she's got the Doki Dokis for Iemori now, she doesn't want to deny it so quickly anymore, which makes Iemori look bad in front of Terasaka. So, he's got to deal with that. And Terasaka's like, "I'm going to be on the lookout for anything that is unacceptable behavior. I'm not going to leave here until I'm sure that she is going to be safe in her own home." And Himari's just like, "I mean, sure, I guess, what choice do I have?" She's also really nice to Terasaka and says, like, "You really seem to be really concerned with me, so thanks. You seem like someone I can count on." And of course, she's just like, "It's because I'm a big fan of hers." So Himari has brought a bunch of stuff from Amazon for Maru's cage to make it really, really nice, because she's a cat mom now. She wants that boy to be as comfortable as can be when she's away at school. And Terasaka's like, "You better not use this cat to flirt with Yoshino." And Himari's like, "I would never do that." And Himari's like, "Well, since we're taking care of Maru together, I could see how things could get a little flirty." And then Terasaka goes, "Wait, what?
Hold
Huh?
Hold on a second.
And she starts to see things, a bit differently.
The next one
at this point
is the funniest, because I am also a very much a person who needs like attention, and I definitely feel like I have done a situation similar. It's like, don't I look weird with pants under a skirt? And they're like, "You're in your own home. Who the fuck would give a shit?"
And Terasaka's like, "Is she just finding excuses to talk to him? What the hell?" They set up screens on the guardrails on the second floor of Himari's home, so now Maru doesn't, have to worry about falling between the gaps and stuff. And Maru's gonna be like, "God damn it, I can't get through that screen.
You've trapped me for now, mother, but I will find a way out. I always do."
After all that work, Himari sneezes, and Terasaka's worried that she's allergic to cats. She's just like, "No, but I am allergic to dust." And Iemori did his research earlier and is like, "Yeah, cat fur and dander are really lightweight. They can make dust allergies worse if you don't clean up after them." And he's like, "This is my job. I got to make a nice, comfortable home for you, and also for your pet. So I am here to work." And Terasaka sees how serious he's being, and she, gives him a little apology. "All right, yeah, sorry."
Yeah.
So, and then Himari's like, "Could you do a cleaning for just this area then?" And Terasaka's like, "What the fuck is she doing?"
It's very funny to feel like, oh, it's the other way around.
"Oh no." And she's like, "Oh no, I cock blocked the girl I'm a fan of. What have I done?" So, but while she's off by herself, Himari's like, "Hey, let's exchange contact deets." She says deets because she's young and hip. And so they do that. And she says, "Yeah, you can call me Himari if I can call you Sumire." So they're on like first name basis, which immediately just like, because, Terasaka's really, not that way. But Himari points out how she was kind of acting cold towards her at school. And Sumire says, like, "You just caught me by surprise." Makes a quick excuse to hide the whole Hima-head thing. And she's like, she says that she's concerned about Iemori. She keeps on using, like, "I'm your childhood best friend, so I'm concerned for you," as, like, her excuse for it. But Himari says, "Oh, he doesn't think of me that way." And Sumire is like, "Oh no, she's sad because Iemori is not taking notice of her admiration. I gotta do something." And then Himari turns to her and says, like, "Hey, can I ask for advice about my crush? I need a friend I can talk to." Which makes sense, because the other two girls her age in her life, she knows are attached to Iamori in some way.
They're both
and it would make
actively into him.
So it's like, this makes perfect sense that she's like, oh, someone my age that's not attached to this situation I could confide in.
Yeah.
So Samira's like, yes, okay, I'm going home right now, though. So she heads out, and Iamori kind of like catches up with her as he's on his way out, and she's like, leaning against a wall because she's like been in the company of someone she's a fan of for too long. And then she turns to Iamori and she's like, how are you not in love with Himari? What the fuck? And he's like, what? You didn't want me to do this! And so, hey, the dynamic has been reversed. I thought that this was a good setup chapter again for like here's what the situation's going to be going forward, and it was a bit more amusing than the previous chapter. Like, this is much more novel character dynamics than the previous one, so I'm happier with this turn.
I like this chapter a lot. I thought Sumire was very funny. I liked how Iamori is just straightforward, like, I am here to clean, I am going to do cleaning things, and just the slow realization throughout the day that Sumire is like, I think actually it's the other. Oh God, no, what have I done? The only thing that is a little weird, which is at the very end where she's like, how are you not in love with her? Which I was like, that feels like a larger conversation to be had there. But Iamori, I guess, is just too dense of a boy to realize that this girl very clearly is into him.
She's so out of my league.
I don't even know if he would say it. I just think he just doesn't. Well, he also has his own crush. Like, he's like, yeah, no, I'm into.
He's got the blinders on.
Yeah, I'm into Onodera or whatever the fuck her name is. I know she's not Onodera, but she's Onodera. We all know.
Hey, Quinn, this name of the series is Hima-Ten, so look.
It's gonna go great for her. Nick, Nice Prison, Chapter 3. This prison
Are
sure
these guys going to be regulars after this? No, because this series is not going to be regular after this. Spoilers. Quinn, look, Elite Four guy gets featured in this chapter, the Zebra guy. I not want to talk about the jokes in this because they're all undercut the same way, which is a joke happens that you could squint your eyes and see it being amusing, and then Sidekick Girl points out what the joke is and murders it on the spot. This girl should be in prison for killing jokes.
She's murdered so many great bits before they happened. It really starts off immediately when the guy's like, all right, we've locked him up. Now be sure to lock up the cell. It holds up an enormous key. Like the key that like Link would hold up in Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Like very obviously too big, but then she has to be like, that key is huge. It's like, okay, I get that your audience is young, so maybe they don't know what size keys are. Maybe they haven't seen that many, but it is just over and over that they do these jokes. And you're like, all right, is this what it is? And then you're like, all right, looking for something that might be amusing. And I'll be honest, I did not find a single even like gag in this chapter that was worth it. I think the best was just like you see the zebra guy in the background of one panel, and then he gets hit in the next time. They're like, oh, there you are. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So they realized it. But
well, even when that happens, like they make the point about like, oh, well, prisoners, like use their striped outfits to make them stand out. I use mine like a zebra to blend in instead. And he disappears, and then he coughs and gives away his hiding position. So then he gets hit with the wrecking ball and chain thing. And then the girl goes, your coughing fit made it obvious. Yes! That was the joke! Fuck off!
There is a lot of that. She also doesn't do anything. She is just there to react to the things the main character does. So, once again, why are you here? Is, I guess, the question. Like, feels like we could just watch the guy with the cool powers and stuff, and I don't know, give him like a fucking dog sidekick or some shit. I don't know, who knows?
Yeah, well, there is going to be a dog apparently eventually, because there's a whole thing at the end of like, here are the wardens of the other blocks, and they have gimmicks like the caveman warden, the scrap warden, the mascot warden, the warden dog named Mr. Dog, and the not warden, which seems like a thing that I'm not going to care enough to find out about.
It's gonna
Goodbye, nice prison.
It's gonna be real funny next week when not Warden is the focus of the chapter and we have to talk about it because Nick, hold on, wait. What if a veto in the bank was used? Now I don't have one. But what if you gave one to me, and I promise I won't use it for this, despite the fact I'm currently holding it up to use it. No, it's been 3 chapters. Do you want to keep reading Nice Prison? I do not. I do not.
No!
Not only do I not want to read it, I want to actively forget the chapters I have read.
Okay, we'll work on that technology, Quinn.
I haven't seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but that's what they use the machine for, right? They were like, yeah. You read a shitty manga you don't want to remember, so we're going to erase it out of your memory.
Specifically for manga.
Yeah. It's actually a very narrow machine. I thought it was weird that movie got so popular in America, but, good for them. Not since Robin Williams uttered the words Neon Genesis Evangelion in 1 Hour Photo. Has manga felt like it crossed over so much with American culture.
Man, remember that when that was like an obscenely novel thing to have happen, like a Hollywood movie referencing anime.
Yeah.
But Altar of the Flame. It's a new series by Yuki Kawaguchi of Hunter's Guild Red Hood.
Hunter's Guild Red Hood, yeah.
And this is a series that's got some, like northern kind of Viking vibes in a lot of ways. There's a horrible winter that's going on, even though it's like supposedly summer, because everything changed when the Ice Kingdom attacked. And ice literally is spread across the land because seemingly winter itself has allied with the invading kingdom, and ice is everywhere. So we get to know Otter a bit. He is a, young teenager who is trying to look after his sister and stuff. He needs to make money. He is a good, helpful boy who helps out around the place, and he gets, given supplies in exchange for helping people out. He's a good boy. He goes home to Sana on her birthday, and she, of course, knows that, he's going to the fortress. And she's really worried about him because she's like, you're a nice boy. You can't say, you say yes to everyone. And you can't, you're not a warrior, though. You can't, hurt people. And he says, it's okay. I'm just going to be a cook. I'm going to keep the fires lit. I'm going to warm up mead. I wish I could fight like our dad, but they said no children. And then we get the backstory about the invading kingdom of ice and how they are trying to oppose it. And he ponders, man, if I had the power to defeat the Ice Kingdom, if only, As Sana is sleeping, he apologizes to her for being an unreliable big brother, and then the next day he, sets out to head off. He, gathers up some supplies and everything, and he, has a bunch of people giving him here, take a sheep, take all this stuff, take this with you to the fortress, and they know you're too kind to become a warrior. You're not too set off for that. Sana gives him a piece of the holy flame from the village and says that I know that this was some legend you told me once about a fire spirit sneeze that chased out winter or whatever, but I don't really remember it. Anyway, take it. And so he takes it with him, and they bless each other as they leave. And so Otter traveled for many weeks. Just and they traveled.
And he's
here.
Okay.
All right. You did learn from the previous series, didn't you? None of this. Oh, we're gonna do arcs to get to the fortress.
Yeah.
No, he's there.
Get there quickly.
They get into the fortress. Otter goes to take up his station. There are all sorts of wounded warriors all over the place, including one who's had his leg amputated, and he says, "My door to Valhalla hasn't opened yet. I'll fight again and die." All right, good for you, Mr. Beard. And then Otter gets called over by, well, it is a Kawaguchi series, Muscle Mommy. So, giant woman who is eating the whole ass fish says, "Get in the kitchen, don't stray from your battlefield." Her name is Arayoki, and she's the captain of the fortress. Oter introduces himself, and he says, "Nice to meet you, Cook." Immediately, like, she's like polite enough to ask the name. It's like, "You're Cook," and that's it. She says that mead is the fortress's lifeline. Never let the fires go out, but also ration the firewood, and that's it. So he goes to the kitchens. He breathes on the fireplace before he sets it up, and she says, "Why are you doing that?" He says, "Oh, I feel like doing that helps the fire to last longer." And she says, "Oh, okay. It's kind of like a good luck spell. I get that. But be careful. Breath is part of the soul. That's why your chest starts to hurt when you run. That's why the dead stop breathing." At least that's what a shaman told me once. She says breath has a magical significance to it. But she says, like, the fire may be lasting longer because it's swallowing up some of your life, so just be careful. Oter asks for a sword before she leaves because he says, hey, I might want to fight like a warrior one day because everyone here is risking their lives. I suppose if I die as a cook, I'm not going to be able to see my father because, like, I won't die as a warrior. I won't go to Valhalla to see him. And Aoki says, of course you will. Whether you're a cook or an armor polisher, everyone on a battlefield is a warrior. This is your battlefield. You fight to protect everyone's mortal flames. Live, fight, and die, cook. I like her. The enemy attacks. Oh dear, it's the Ice Kingdom. They got big old monsters. Look at that monster. Look at that monster. Look at that monster. Look at that monster.
There's some
good
designs.
Look at that Game of Thrones guy. So the Ice King guy, not that Ice King, not from Adventure Time, but the one from the White Walker King, that one, looks like him. He shows up looking all evil with horns and stuff, and oh my god, they've raised the dead. Definitely not like Game of Thrones. I'm sorry. Look, it's too easy. So, and holy shit, some of them have been raised from the dead and started attacking their own allies. And Jesus Christ, this horned guy is a sorcerer. He's using ice spells to resurrect the corpses of the people that have been slain. A two-headed Yeti ogre-looking thing attacks the kitchen directly, smashes the fire that was being kept, and just kind of like easily drops Oter out of the way. So victory is claimed over the fortress right away because they've snuffed out the fires there. Ice gets cast on a bunch of the warriors. One of them, the two-headed one that had grabbed Oter before, goes to put him on ice, and Aoki comes up and sneak attacks it, smashes one of the heads with her axe, and protects him. She shields herself from its ice blast when the other head attacks her, but she says, run, don't let the flame die. And then she is frozen totally solid on the spot. To which I was like, you better not be dead. More fighting happens. Oter looks around, sees that things are just going badly. People are frozen, corpses are down, and he's like, shit, am I going to die? But he takes some comfort in the fact, like, okay, well, if I die in the battlefield, I'll get to go to Valhalla. I'll see my dead family members. And also, coins will be sent to my family because I died here. So Sana will not have to worry about food. So it's okay. But then he flashes back to when he was, doing house stuff, looking after Sana while she was in bed, telling her legends and stuff. And she says, I'm not going to stop you from going to the battlefield. I know you want to become a warrior, but don't try to accomplish something through death. And she says, I know that you've told me that, the tales of warriors are passed down because they die. But the sagas of warriors who survive their battles are the most epic and entertaining ones. Next time I want you to tell me your saga. And I'll listen to it until the sun comes up, if that's what it takes. Aw. So Oter does not give up. Instead, when Draugr, the sorcerer, comes across him, he has taken all his upper clothing off, and he has put his body around the very small embers, remember the name, of the fire that was in the kitchen, and is putting his breath into it, as he had been warned not to do. It's very scary looking, honestly, like how much it's clearly like taking out of him. And he's even burning his clothes in order to do it. And he says, like, it's not over because as long as I have this fire, I can melt everyone. I'm not going to let everyone die. And he thinks, I don't need to be a hero. I don't need people to pass my tales down. And Draugr stops him, kicks him away from the fire, and says to this weird giant crab thing, like, I kind of want to know what this thing's deal is.
It's very interesting because I'm like looking back and I'm like, was there a big crab monster in that 2-page spread? I'm not seeing it, but I'm not gonna lie, I do like this dude's style. I think everyone should have one giant crab monster in their army. It just feels like a quota that should be hit.
Bring me my giant crab. Yes, sir. Otter reaches out for the flame and references the holy flame that Sana had given to him before his journey. And he says, Holy flame, I will give you both my soul and my body, just to warm everyone's bodies for me. Burn bright, and may the spirits protect you. And he breathes into it again, and there's a huge blast of smoke. And when the steam clears, that crab dead. It's very satisfying seeing it bifurcated the way that it is. Very clean lines and all the ew stuff inside of it gushing out. And we get a 2-page spread of Otter holding up his flame sword. Look, if it's a sword that's made of fire, it's immediately a win. I don't make the rules. Fire sword. Here we go.
The Nick's on board.
But the fire, of course, on top of that, speaks to Otter and thanks him. And Otter's like, are you a spirit? He's like, I guess. So it addresses Otter as a sorcerer. And Otter's like, I'm not a sorcerer. And it says, well, I know. You're a warrior, which means that your duty is what? And it gives him armor and a sword and a shield and says, since you gave me some of your life, I'm sharing my life with you. The sorcerer and all of his monsters attack. And he says, hey, I got a freaking undead army behind me. What you gonna do? Otter slashes with his flame sword, and the flames stop the undead magic. All their bodies fall lifeless to the ground instead, as he indicates that their spirits have been sent to Valhalla. And he says, you have meddled with the death of proud warriors and defiled souls, so I will send you to Valhalla. And he comes in with his big old flaming sword, and there is a video game cutscene that happens with graphics and shit as he cuts the sorcerer in half, and he is obliterated. And fortunately, when the sorcerer is killed, the curses that he cast are broken.
That's why I assume the woman from before is fine.
We don't see her, but I would assume so, yes.
Yeah, the ice that was on that dude melted. It's not like she broke apart. That's usually how you make the assumption someone's dead.
Those that are unfrozen go to the remaining Draugr, the remaining zombies, and finish them off. And with the curse broken, they just all become dead again. So they finish up the battle, and Otter has a chance to meet up with his spirit, Fylgja, who takes a physical form, and it's like, all right, yeah, that is a flame spirit looking thing, sure. And says, all right, I'm going to be living with you and fighting with you. It's time to fight. Let's go stop the endless winter. Before we get to that, Otter says, why'd you choose me? And Fylgja says, I don't know. I just kind of showed up here. But I like you. You get a warm heart. And she says, I think she says, those who seek death can't add more kindling to their stoves. And your heart was the warmest one on the battlefield. I think that's all there is to it. So stick your chest out. You're a warrior who's been chosen by a spirit. And he collapses because, he just went through a weird, crazy thing. And that's it. That's the beginning of Otter's journey with Fylgja.
Yeah, so Otter of the Flame. I have to thank my boyfriend for this because I got to the end of the week and he was asking me about the manga I've been reading. And he specifically was like, what'd you think of Otter of the Flame? I was like, I haven't read it yet. Is it any good? And he's like, yeah, I liked it a lot. I was like, all right, well, let me know a couple chapters in if it's any good or not. And then, maybe I'll pick it up. He's like, what do you mean you're going to read it? And I was like, I don't usually read all like the extra Jump stuff, like the stuff that comes out not on Sundays. And he's like, babe, this was the cover of Shonen Jump this week. And I was like, motherfucker, I had to read it like immediately today. So, Didn't have as much time to stew on this one, but I really like so many of the elements. It has like a Dark Souls vibe in the way that like fire is this very precious resource. Like the scene of Otor like cradling the fire. I'm pretty sure I've seen Dark Souls cinematics that are exactly that. So I think that's really cool. I like his little flame companion who shows up at the end. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I am optimistic, and I liked it more on a second read through. I started to kind of appreciate the art more. I already liked the art, but like I really like the art a second time through. Nothing else in Jump looks like this right now, and I kind of want to stick around, if for no other reason than that. This is a tough genre space to be in, especially with Ichi the Witch already kind of occupying that like adventure fantasy angle.
Yeah.
But I am hoping that this series can get a little bit going. And this is the most important thing. This series is already a 10 out of 10 in my mind. Honestly, maybe up for GOAT consideration because this series is the reason why we don't have to read Astro Royale anymore.
Yeah! I really agree, especially with the sentiment of second time through is a lot more enjoyable. Yeah. I feel like once you're kind of at the point of like, all right, I'm up to speed, I'm feeling what the vibe of this is, and I'm used to looking at the art style and stuff, that you start to notice a lot of things that are kind of, in a sense, a bit overwhelming because there's so many details to the artwork that it's easy to kind of overlook and be overwhelmed by them. But there's a lot of touches in terms of the story, of the world building and stuff, how things start off as just like, you don't really know a lot about how things work, just the things are really harsh. But then some of the stuff referenced at the beginning comes through in this big moment of Otor gaining this power. And then when you get to that point, there's some really cool artwork for that ending fight sequence. Just showing off like how cool Otor looks when he's doing these slashes and burning things. As I said, Flame and Sword, hell yeah, I'm into that. That there's one thing that pokes the 13-year-old boy part of my brain is like fire sword, yeah. So,
I like his twinky little midriff top that he gets.
It's really twinky.
I was like, you know what? I'm glad we gave a boy some kind of twinky revealing outfit. Just kind of a good equilibrium to hit to some degree. I think this series maybe... I do wish Otor was a bit more interesting as a character, but I do think that is maybe just a tendency of this mangaka where their leads are like these little tiny boys and then presumably big, strong muscle mommies will go along with them. And I wish they just had the confidence to just make the muscle mommy the main character, but I understand. This is Shonen Jump, you know. Akane-banashi is an anomaly as it is. So... good stuff. I'm excited to read a couple more of these chapters and see how it goes. And I'm also glad I was reminded that was a series to read this week. Otherwise, I'd have been like, Otor the Flame. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I do see that. It makes me think of course, Hunter's Guild, and makes me think of like some of the things that I feel like were done better in that first chapter than in this one. It was more coherent, I feel like.
This author is very clearly talented, though.
Oh, absolutely. But we'll see how well things out. I really do want Kawaguchi to have a successful series because the talent is there. Yeah. And they are not afraid to do just very straightforward, cool fantasy elements. And I do think we need a series like this in this way. Exactly. There's a space for it that we don't have a lot of in Jump.
Speaking of series that are ending soon, Nick, Sidcraft, Love is a Mystery.
It's talking about, Quinn.
Yeah, Case 23, the lie brought to light and feelings carried on. So we open the chapter with Elio, who's just very excited. She's like, oh, I'm so glad the kids from the orphanage are safe and sound, but we're going to have to get that Zero Craft. Ooh, and that Mistcraft is also going to have to pay. But Sid just very calmly is like, I think you shouldn't come here anymore, Elio. They are very clearly targeting you. If you had stayed with me, then the same thing might have happened to you. I don't feel safe with you being here. And Elio tries to protest in her defense, but her handler, Steve, shows up and is like, Master Sid is correct, Lady Elio. And I was like, wait,
Oh
what?
my God.
And she's like, wait, no, please, Steve, anything but this. And he's like, no, he must know fucking everything. Not just that you're a woman, not just that you're the fucking daughter of Count Evelyn, and also that you're the popular writer that he loves so much.
So come back to the house. We're over. Your life's in danger. And Sid has an extraordinarily restrained reaction to this.
You're a girl, and you're the author, Miss Olin herself. He just sees one look at Elio's face and knows that Steve is right, Mr. Steve. So that's his surname is Steve. And he says, Elio, go home with him. And Elio's defense is to say, but without me around, you need to eat properly, right? So. Okay.
Hi, and welcome to Harem Update Sports. This is Nick, and just want to let you know that betting odds for Elio being the winner of the Sidcraft Harem have drastically gone down in an unprecedented event, a total Hail Mary of an attempt to up her chances after the amazing progress made by Lulu and Chat Noir in previous indications, where she kissed Sidcraft. Elio's attempt was to drop her entire gimmick in one go and reveal every single plot thread that she had going on with Sid, and all of them are just done. So betting odds have completely backfired and now are being set to 8,000 to 1 for her.
Wow, that's real rough. Now, curiously, do we have the odds for Steve? Mr. Steve, what is his prognosis looking like for the future? What are his chances with Sidcraft looking like?
I'll tell you this much, Quinn. They are better than Elio's at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems as though Steve had some really great chemistry, and there was a lot of trust built in right away, where there was no alarm whatsoever about this strange man coming into his place. So I don't know. I feel like Sid may have some unexpected chemistry with this latecomer to proceedings.
Yeah. So Steve is taking Elio home and is like, hey, I apologize. You can blame me, but... And Elio's like, no, I understand. I knew this day would come. I just thought it wouldn't come this quickly, which feels...
really?
feels very authentic. This is where shit just gets so fucking funny to me. So an assassin shows up, and he cuts Steve. Like, you see, like, a blade slash across, blood flies off, Steve just tumbles off the side of this carriage. Then this assassin...
Quinn, I have a question. Okay. How did this happen?
Not important.
He slashes the knife while he's standing in front of the horse of the carriage, and of course Steve is sitting behind the horse, but this knife somehow reaches him.
Well, as we'll also get to, he slashes horizontally, but somehow later on leaves a wound that is entirely, like, impact-based, like...
Yeah. That's a stabbing.
We'll get into it. Anyways, so the assassin then punches their way into the carriage to grab Elio by the shirt and says, by the orders of Zero, I'll kill you. And Elio kicks the knife away and is like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get Steve and get out of here. And she's like, Steve. She looks over. Steve, again, he has been slashed like horizontally, but he just has like a stab wound in his leg. And he's like, this old man can run no longer.
Oh, man. Well, another update again from the Harem Sports Network. It seems that Steve's chances have actually gone below Elio's on account of the fact that he may be dead soon.
He's like, don't mourn for me. I lived a great many years with my wife, Mrs. Steve. He's like, no, my lady, hurry and run away. And it's very funny because he's like, you should hurry and run away. And in the background, we can see the assassin reaching for Elio. And it's like, dude, you're not dead. Scream louder. Like, do something.
You've got another leg. Put yourself in the way of this guy and the person that you serve and have dedicated your life to.
Yeah, do something, man. Like, or just, like, alert her to the fact that's like, hey, he's behind you or something.
You should go on and leave me behind. Also, someone's right behind you. Wow.
Do you know that guy? I saw him earlier in front of the horse with a knife. I thought maybe he's one of your friends. You have so many. I love hearing about you and your life. How are things going, by the way? How's work? Oh, I guess I know how that's going.
All right, I got you fired. I pressed up your chances with your mister.
You know what? Upon thinking about it, I've actually messed up, I think, all of your professions at once right now, because now the world's most famous detective also knows your pen name, so probably not a great move there. Anyways, he's there, right behind you. Cut over to Sid, and he's thinking she, without Elio. It's so quiet, just like back then. And we get a flashback to Sid's life before Elio, where he was a detective who fucking hated his life. Honestly, probably should have been chapter 1 of this series.
Yeah.
We see how miserable Sid's life was back then. How he was constantly put into job after job and constantly finding out how everybody is a liar because he's figuring out that they committed the crime. And that the only solace he ever found was in these romance books. But then Elio shows up, says, hey, I'm here for the job. Sid, as tired as he is like, fucking whatever. But slowly, upon seeing how authentically passionate Elio was, it gave Sid a reason to start trusting people again, and it brought a smile back to his face. Very, very sweet moment.
Honestly, if this had been chapter 2 of this manga, just like a whole long thing explaining how Elio started to work for Sid and the influence that they have had on each other, obviously we wouldn't have to get the whole thing of like, oh, and you say me all this. You wouldn't have to get everything together. But earlier than this, like this really could have been a very interesting thing, and I think it could have been very sweet if it weren't 2 pages total that are crammed into this late stage thing that is very much part of the chapter of, anyway, Elio's not endgame.
Yeah, all of Elio's gimmicks are being dropped. So Sid looks over and sees Elio's messenger bag full of plot-relevant journals she's been writing. Extremely incriminating journals, by the way, where she basically is admitting to her entire character. But in them, Elio notes that she's like, hey, if I ever did end up leaving this, detective agency, I would want to become a detective as well who could save people, just like how you saved me. And that's how I'll repay you. Looks outside. Elio is defending Steve in honestly a hilarious way. She's just kind of holding her arms out. Like, I don't think he's going for... The dude's down on the ground. He's not doing anything. And Steve's like, no, lady, you must run. And she's like, no, because I'm the great detective Sid's assistant. He's like, no, I just got you fired. You're not anymore.
You're not anymore.
The assassin starts punching her because he doesn't have his knife anymore. And
breast binding, tearing punch.
He deals cleavage damage to her, and then he only destroys the shirt that was underneath. He doesn't even damage anything else. He somehow just hits her underlayer, so you can see.
It's one of those special punches that deals specifically like internal damage, but he's really shit at it. He only gets through one layer of clothes.
Yeah, it doesn't get like deep down. It just explodes surface layer clothing. It's also very funny because I'm like, is that supposed to be titillating or? Like, I just don't get the purpose. Anyways, the bad guy...
Yeah, how are we supposed to know if this is like supposed to be titillating or not if we don't see Elio's pants going up into her butt during the fight scene?
Yeah, how's her wedgie looking right now? Is that okay? Anyways, the assassin grabs Elio by her hair and says, no more running from you. Everyone knows what's happening. Elio has grabbed the knife at this point. She is going to do her big dramatic haircut thing. She says, I do have something more important than my hair, and Master has given me plenty of it. She cuts off her hair and then judo tosses the assassin. It is actually...
Gives herself a perfect do immediately. But...
Yeah. She gets that shit straight. Good for her. I like to think the assassin was like, well, her hair's rather beautiful, so I should keep this level. Like, I want her to get a good cut at this point. That's the chapter.
Yeah.
If this series is not ending, it is essentially redoing the entire character of Elio, but I do think the series is just ending or preparing to end.
Yep, so Elio gets her Sakura moment, which is not that shocking because hair was like one of the distinguishing features. It just did everything in one go. The assistant thing, that's done. Secretly the author, that's done. Secretly the aristocrat, that's done. Had the pretty hair, that's done. So, all right, Elio's ready for Endgame now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of her development's done.
Yeah, it's a shame. I am now at the stage of like, I'm gonna miss Sigcraft, even though I didn't like it a lot of the time because I've just enjoyed us getting to talk about it on the show, and now it really feels like we're in the final weeks of that. Oh well.
Yeah.
Ultimate Exorcist, Kiyoshi. Chapter 43, Sosuke has just won his battle, but he is down for the count. He wishes luck to Kiyoshi Hirai, saying, all right, I've done it, Hirai. The rest is up to you. We cut over to Astaroth because this is chapter 43, Astaroth versus Kyoka Kurogane. Kurogane, of course, immediately shows up and attacks Astaroth as soon as he is on the side of the battle, punches him. Astaroth blocks it and has no idea who she is, so she introduces herself as Kyoka Kurogane, the woman who's going to exorcise you. She strikes a big old confident pose. Astaroth isn't buying this. Kurogane, because she's got one gimmick, which is she wants a man, says, you'd be a fine, smug, cocky boyfriend, but I can't imagine marrying you. All right. And she says as well, I've got a date I'm looking forward to once I've exercised you. And Astaroth's like, well, I also have a date coming up. Woohoo. So they score off. Kyoka Kurogane, who had attacked her initially with a 32 toll attack, attacks with a 64 total attack. So she is up in the stakes and attacking with stronger stuff. And she pulls out a sword, a cutlass, a scimitar, and she cuts off Astaroth's left hand. And there's a cool moment because he was holding his broadsword in that hand. He catches it with his other hand in order to start attacking her. Just keeps on going without even bothering to regenerate at first, it seems. He takes some more blows. This is the main thing we've seen Astaroth do at this point is just tank attacks. But after she lands a kind of like double palm strike attack to him, she takes off her Kenpachi eye patch and reveals her crest exorcism eye opener. And she declares it as Gong Girl, which has to be a movie reference, and declares 128 toll. White Tiger Celestial Wing Armor! She gets an armor thing that has like tiger claws coming out of her long sleeves, and also an angel halo and wings. And she starts attacking with more with her claws, really pushing Astaroth this time. He's backing off. He's getting a lot of scratches over his face. She's clawing him in the chest. And then she summons this big, giant, black flame gauntlet thing. The White Tiger Celestial Wing Purifying Fist smashes it into Astaroth. Huge thing appears in the clouds above them, knocks shockwaves that buffet street signs and cars, and the smoke clears, and it's revealed that Astaroth caught the punch in his mouth, which doesn't feel like the best way to block an attack. But how would I know? I'm not a demon king.
It works out pretty well for him here. He does appear to bite her hand off.
He definitely does a lot of damage to it, but it kind of like escapes into her sleeve, so we don't really see a whole lot of it after that. And he's like, oh, looks like you're not going to be able to hold hands on your date. Not that it matters. Neither of you will live to see tomorrow! And he attacks her with black balls that shoot lasers, I guess. It's an instant takedown, essentially. Kurogane is immediately defeated by this. There's a quick line that Astaroth has, which is like, where'd you get all that power? You must have made a contract with an angel, which I think is the first actual mention of angels that we've gotten.
Yes.
Not that surprising. There's demons in hell.
We also need something for the series to do, because it's successful now, and we established 13 demons, and we've killed like 11 of them so far.
He starts to just curb stomp her, smashing her head into the ground, and he says, like, you know what? That was great, but we're done. Unfortunately, I just can't fall for you. And he starts dragging her body because they're, fighting on the tower, and he just tosses her body off of it. And as Kurogane falls, she apologizes to all the people who were counting on her, that her power wasn't enough. She starts to cry as well. and thinks, I wanted to meet you one last time, my prince on a white horse. But it's okay, because Kiyoshi is here, bounces around, grabs her out of the air, and says, it's all right now, Miss Kurogane. And he appears back over the top of the tower with her in his arms, and Astaroth gets a look on his face when he spots Kiyoshi. This is a face.
I do like that this is very like, you know, like Hisoka every time he gets to see Gon, like, yeah. And it's like a good face. It makes these two, when they face off against each other, seem exciting. I will say that Kiyoshi himself, the character, has like slowly lost a lot of the stuff that made him like really charming and likable. Like, he's not nervous around people anymore, particularly women in the same way. Like, I guess right now it's like his time to look cool, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like Sosuke is like very clearly like overshot Kiyoshi for like the most likable character in the series, and now I'm kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, we got this guy who's like the strong one, but like when I want that good stuff, I go to Sosuke.
Kiyoshi definitely needs to have at least a moment to reflect on the fact that he is, like, bridal style carrying a woman in his arms that was openly flirting with him the last time that they had a conversation.
Who is gripping tightly to him, by the way. There is a panel specifically to show that she is, like, clenched onto his shirt.
With the hand that was bit, by the way, so it was not bit off. That's her left hand.
Is it?
Yep. Her
so
left
it
hand
is.
Was the one. Yeah, her left hand was the one that got bit, and yeah.
I did not hate this chapter. I know some people were really disappointed because Kurogane kind of jobs out to Astaroth, but like everyone, I assume, except for Kiyoshi, is going to job out to him. I thought it was going to be kind of cool to see different people face this guy while like Kiyoshi made his way here.
Sure.
But it looks like we're not going to do that. So, hey, she got her victory before. Someone's got to be the Chad in this series. But at least this time, Chad's got big boobs. So, probably get to do more.
Chad already had big boobs because he had large pectoral muscles.
He had large pecs. That's right. God, Chad was so cool.
He was.
Anyways, Marriagetoxin.
Whatever happened to him? Because he definitely didn't become a boxer and violate the main thing that his grandfather told him to do. I know he didn't do that.
No. His grandfather came back. They met him in the Mexican Soul Society, which I guess
you're good at punching people. You should make money off of that shit, man.
He's like, wait, my boy, my Chico, you learned how to punch people. You can make money off of that. Do you remember Oscar de la Hoya? He's like, he made so much money. You could be rich.
All right. Marriagetoxin, chapter 127. The head of the Poison Clan is cooking something and tastes a stew and says,
we don't know it's the head of the Poison Clan yet.
Someone who looks like the head of the Poison Clan.
I don't think we knew anything about the Poison Clan's leader. I thought this was just open. I was like, oh, there's like a woman cooking.
She cooks and says, this turned out delicious. Kiyoshi is off with Garo.
Although I guess we did see her during that flashback with Nabe.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So Kiyoshi is with Garo, getting the report on how his date with Jinatsu went, and so Kiyoshi says, so you guys just like worked out together and went home? Come on, man.
My dude.
He brings up like, he's like, all right, we're gonna have an evaluation meeting, and also you're going to buy me steak during the evaluation meeting. So good for them. Starts to pick out a restaurant while they're walking, but Garo at that moment gets a phone call, and all that he says on the call is that an absolute order? Cut ahead, and we see that Kiyoshi has been led somewhere while blindfolded, and I'm guessing unconscious, judging by the little drool coming out.
I like to think he was just sleeping. Like, I have to assume that every so often, this is shit that just comes part and parcel with being, like, friends with Garo. Is like, I gotta go somewhere. You can't know where it is, so I'm gonna blindfold you. But it's cool. Just take a nap. I would just cruise out. So
he's like an alligator. So whenever Garo needs some time alone, just like drapes a blanket over his head.
Honestly, yeah, that's honestly a great way to like just be. Just like, hey, if you throw a blanket over my head, I'll probably go crash.
They are in front of a very beautiful garden of some sorts, like traditional Japanese looking place. And
But with
Kinosaki's like,
very
oh,
tropical looking flowers. Like,
yeah.
this is not the flora you would expect in a traditional Japanese garden.
If they walk through here, there is going to, I think, be a point where Kinosaki is told, "Don't step off the stones. You will step on something that will kill you immediately."
Honestly, be brisk on the stones as well. The stones can also kill you if you're on them too long.
That's just because they're dicks, though. So Kinosaki is like, "Oh wow, this is your ancestral home." Okay. Gero reflects on the phone call that he got from Sensei, who said to him, like, "Congrats on your most recent job. We need you to report on Nabe-sama's case. So come to the main residence and bring Mei Kinosaki with you." So Gero apologized to Kinosaki over having to do that, but Kinosaki's like, "This is fun though. Like, I get to see the place that you grew up in, and also like, look, two of us have been through some worse shit than this." So very, very chipper still, despite the fact that, look, this is the Poison Clan ancestral home. This place is dangerous, so watch out. Kinosaki spots a figure behind a screen to their right and says, like, "Is that the clan head?" And Gero says, "It's probably just a fake. Look, I barely ever got to talk with my grandmother because she would always just issue orders through our sensei. I only got to see her once after the selection of the next clan head concluded. My memories of that time are very hazy. But people in the specialist world regard her with awe and fear as the perfected poison user. She'll use anything at her disposal to achieve her objectives and continues to be a very mysterious figure." Food's been presented to Kinosaki. Kinosaki is eating the food because one speed.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. Kinosaki's happily munching on the food, going, "It's good." And immediately Gero's like, "Oh my God, poison, the poison." And then he looks at it and he's like, oh, it doesn't look like it's been poisoned. So I guess it's fine. Note that. Kinosaki asks for seconds immediately. Good. And the woman who prepared the food says, "Of course." And says, "I put all my skills into making this meal, and I'm very glad to hear you praise my cooking, Mei-san." And Kinosaki's like, "Oh, thanks, yeah. Who are you?" And she says, "I'm the clan head, Kirara." And just a full-page spread of her just taking the bowl from Kinosaki while introducing herself. And she looks like she is 30 at the most. And, looks the exact same as that flashback we saw from 100 years ago that Nabe had. And Gero doesn't know what she looks like because Gero has never seen the clan head before. So he is just as shocked as Kinosaki is. And then Sensei shows up and remarks like, "Oh, wow, you're overflowing with love for Hikaru-sama, aren't you? Because you personally cooked for them." Anyway, things are really ominous now between the two of them showing up and giving friendly smiles. And Kirara just says, "I really wanted to see Hikaru's face as soon as I could." The two of them sit down as well, and they start eating. And off screen, we get the whole recap of the mission with Nabe. And Kirara says it's going to be lonely without her. It was a nice little note, I think. Gero realizes, I should probably talk about, my whole search for a wife thing going on, because that way my sister won't be forcibly married off to someone. And so he starts to bring it up, but Kirara says, "When are you going to bring home a fiance? You said you're going to do that. You said you're going to find someone yourself, but it's been a month and a half and you have nothing to show for it." Quinn, this has been a month and a half that all this has happened in? That's so much that's happened.
I think, no, he must have said something. That can't be right? Like, we've had more adventures than there are days.
Was that at a more recent point that phone conversation took place than chapter 1? Maybe.
God, it has to, right? Are the text dates not canonical then? Because, he's been on enough canonical dates on that point then that I'd be like, there is no way it's been a month.
With 6 women!
That's crazy.
A month and a half is 45 days! That's so little time. So, Kirara says, "Well, I can't wait any longer. Come in." And someone comes in, a figure whose face outside of, their nose and mouth is covered. And Kirara says, I will have you marry this woman. And Kinosaki protests and says, like, hold on, like, is that why you called me here? Our search has been going really well. And Gero says, like, look, I appreciate your concern on this. We have to do our own things on this matter. And if you could skip past all that, that would be equivalent to rejecting each and every one of the miraculous meetings I've had on this journey. So if you really want me to get married now, you'll have to do it by force. And he is thinking of the 6 women that he has grown these relationships with during his adventure and how he doesn't want to just stomp all over that and throw it all away. Good for you, Gero. And Kirara does seem to be affected by this declaration. She pauses. But then she says, my dear, small, adorable Hikaru now dares to defy me to my face. All right, then. If you've steeled your resolve and made up your mind, we'll do things just as you wish. And Kinosaki collapses on cue with those words. Kinosaki is panting heavily. Gero realized, like, holy crap, he's been poisoned. But wait, no, but because he was so convinced the food was not poisoned. And Kirara says, if you exchange vows with this woman right now, I'll let Mei-san live. You're free to refuse, of course. This is your life we're talking about, after all. And Kinosaki, on the last panel of the chapter, starts to say, you can't give in, even when I'm gone. Well, that escalated quickly.
Great chapter. Truly, truly great. This is a great, like, new character introduction. Stakes, crazy. Kinosaki has such a cute little choker on. Everything's just really cool in this chapter. I just felt like I needed to mention that before I forgot. Good stuff, but yeah, very, very tense. So I have no idea. There's so many pieces at place. Like, we know that dude's, like, sensei's been going after his dates as well. Like, are they here too? Like, what happened to them? What happened to Eri or Erina or whatever her name is?
Is this woman one of the girls that we know that Sensei has confronted, and we did not see the aftermath of that? Is, for that matter, I was even asking, like, is Kinosaki poisoned? Or is this
we do know that he is sick in some other fashion.
Yeah, so could it be something else? Is it, is Kinosaki in on it, for that matter? So,
yeah.
Well, I'm very excited to see the next chapter, but I gotta actually pick things up. Chapter 97, Greeting, Home Edition of New Exorcist with, god damn it, that is actually a kind of cool full color page.
It'd be cooler if their outfits aren't
the armor
stupid.
had different colors.
Yeah. But
all right, so Suo proposed to Gakuro that they go to the summer festival and check it out together. And so Gakuro, like, agrees to it, and Suo was like, okay. And then she gets a call from her mother and is like, yeah, I'm just talking to Yajima. Wait, what? Okay, I'm on my way. And she says to Gakuro, I kid you not, come home with me. My mom found this monster spider. So the excuse that Suo's mother had for getting Gakuro to come to meet her was, there is a spider I need the boy my daughter is talking to come over and kill. Weird. Anyway, so he shows up, they go into the house, and Suo is hiding behind Gakuro, which is kind of cute, actually. And then, oh man, her mom just locks the door behind them, and she says, sorry, I just wanted to greet him, but, you know, I just wanted to meet you. And then, so Suo is upset with her, but then she's like, here's your favorite, croquettes. And Suo's like, croquettes! And is like, and has a sequence of reactions, I think. It's very weird because the art style on all of her faces is different, so it doesn't even look like a montage. Gakuro tries them, is like, yum! And Suo's mom says, you have my permission to date. And Suo's like, that's not how this is. And her mom's like, you are always talking about Gakuro when you get home, so it sure sounds like you're interested in him. And she's like, it's not like that. Have a croquette. So it shuts up. And so Gakuro's like, oh yeah, yeah. And then Suo's mom is like, hey, check these things out. These are prizes that she's won at track meets and things. She was overjoyed. She would put her happy memories here. And then there wouldn't be anything new here until a new memory joined them. It's a package for a present that somebody got her, and she won't say who. Who do you think this present was from, Gakuro? And it's for the ribbon that he got her for her birthday. Gasp! So, man, so Suo's been outed, basically, by her mom here. And so then they're allowed to leave after doing the dishes and stuff. And Suo is embarrassed about stuff. She's blushing and everything, and she's like, yeah. And all right, I'll see you tomorrow. And then we get another panty shot. It's one of the worst panty shots I've ever seen in a manga. And then she turns and looks at Gakuro accusingly and is like, forget that. And yep.
She upgraded her beam from before.
Yep. Ishu gets a call from Suzaku about the whole thing as well. So she's told that Suzaku is going to appear at the summer festival too. My God, more people are going to be involved. This summer festival is the fireworks factory. We're never going to get there. It's got to be a big day. And Ishu's like, is everything going to be fine? Oh my God, the summer festival is happening the next day. Gakuro shows up. He's wearing a yukata. And Nue has told him, remember, you won't have time to really make it yours, but practice being bold. At the summer festival, you'll be with multiple pretty girls. If you act timid, you'll embarrass them. And Gakuro's like, okay. And she says, the size and quality of hearts vary. Frankly, when it comes to romance, yours isn't that reliable. Ow. Ow. Gakuro goes in, immediately runs into a guy that's definitely not a level 4 spirit in disguise. And Gakuro's like, oh, I actually apologized well to that guy for bumping into him. Suo shows up. She looks cute in her yukata, and she's also wearing the ribbon that Gakuro got her for her birthday. Full page spread of that. Hey. And Gakuro's embarrassed because she recognized that, and Suo's feeling kind of bold. She's like, oh, you feeling nervous? And Gakuro's like, you look lovely. Aw, direct compliment. Ain't that nice? And they start to have a little moment, and then now, and oh my God, wouldn't you believe it? It's everyone else from Gakuro's squad. Shitatsu is there, and Shiroha, and Sujita, and the other two. They're also there. And everyone's shocked, and it turns out it's because they overheard Suo, and it's like, we're gonna all get on this together. And yep, that's it. So festival time's beginning now. Woo!
Sure, I actually didn't hate this chapter. I kind of like Suo's mom, and I thought Suo got to look kind of cool. Also, in this very stupid way, I enjoyed her upgrading her forget beam into just like a gunshot. I thought that was kind of funny, but yeah, not super notable. Anyways, Akane-banashi, Nick.
Story 157, Just Talk. Isho has just issued the decree that Akane cannot make the audience laugh during the competition. Another limit placed on her. Akane starts to object, holds it back, and then starts to go, but... And then she does raise objections like, what do you mean don't make them laugh? And Isho is walking off immediately and says, forget it then. No, just forget it. I've lost interest in this. No time for frivolous games between insignificant young pups. When you said I would admit I was wrong, I suppose that was just talk. Oh, he's good. Yeah. He's really good. Knows how to motivate her in a real dickish way, but it works. So I kind of get so frustrated after he leaves the room that she actually throws her fan at the wall after him, which I do like, because it's like, yeah, that's just like human, it's like pointless violence. And she gets really upset at herself as well, because she's like, he saw through me, I hesitated, and he saw through that, and he mocked me over it. And she thinks about what he has just told her, like, oh, I suppose it was just all talk. And she's like, I'm sick at him, I'm sick at myself, and now, how do I do this? And she just reflects on, like, shit, how am I going to beat Kareshi and Hikaru? How am I going to do it without this sight? I don't have these abilities. They're still mysteries to me. What am I going to do? And then, at that moment, in her darkest hour, Kaichi appears to save the day. He just is walking by and spots her.
He must have been like jamming on something too. He didn't hear like this giant blow up just a couple seconds ago. He's just like, I'm just loving life. I'm just living it, having a great time. And then, walks in and he's like, whoa. He has such great expressions. I love Kaichi.
He calls her Akane-san, which is adorable because he's like almost twice her age. And he's like, it's me, Kaichi Arakawa, everyone's idol, the middle-aged rising star. Gives like a full introduction, but it's like charming.
Yeah, he's so... I love him so much.
And it's great because like Akane like immediately smiles a little bit when he shows up. And he's like, yeah, of course I remember you. It's been so long. And he says, I was just doing a gig in there. Oh, listen, you know what? I hate to bring this up to you. And then we immediately cut from there to him going, your life is mine. Gangster outfit, patterned shirt under a white jacket, holding a gun gangster style and killing a man in the street. Boom! Oh, it's a gig.
And
sorry,
cut, yeah.
He got an acting gig, yeah. And so the thing that he needed to ask Akane a favor for was to be an extra when he just guns down a guy in the street for this scene. And she apologized for putting her on the spot like that, but she says, "Oh, it was fun." And we got a little bit up to speed with Kaichi to say that, like, yeah, he's been doing stuff in Rakugo, of course, but he's also like gotten TV spots because like people thought like, oh, this is just an interesting guy, newcomer in Rakugo, but he's got this like sales background, so he got to appear in that. He got to appear in like travel spots, and then gets to be in like scripted dramas and bit parts.
I was gonna say, it looks like he essentially gets to be in some version of like a Law and Order like show.
Yeah, and the guy who he's talking to looks like Iken.
I really thought that was Iken for a moment. Like I really did.
Be him potentially, but he says like, I've still got a long way to go though. Like, you went to France and stuff. And Akane's like, it wasn't that big a thing. I was just trying to
It is Iken. That's what Eerie Gray is saying. Okay. Interesting.
If it's not Iken, it's his twin.
Yeah.
Like, but Kaichi actually does like start like hearing her out because she says like, I couldn't keep tabs on everyone because I was in France. And he says like, yeah, that's no surprise. You left Japan on your own. But that's really insane. That's like kind of a reckless gamble. And Akane's like, yeah. So she has someone that she can actually relate to on that. And she thinks like, yeah. And she shares the ultimatum that Isho has given her. And so he says, wow, what if you ignored Master Isho's orders and you won by making the crowd laugh? Would you be happy with that? And that gets Akane, and she reflects one more time about Isho's comment of like, oh, you were just all talk. And Kaichi says, I get how you feel. You aren't fulfilled unless it's without those nagging doubts. And he reflects on how he took a big gamble on himself. He left his secure job in order to do this. But he says, if you don't go through that, you won't be able to climb up the Isho school. And she thanks him, and then he says, I know you won't help but tackle this new challenge. So you might as well have fun with it. The taller the wall you climb, the better it feels when you get to the top. And then he gets embarrassed because he's like, I'm look at me. I'm like quoting Mr. Children lyrics. Everyone's gonna realize how old I am. He's immediately a big goofball again after that very sincere, cute moment. But Akane thanks him, smacks herself in the face, and is like, yeah, what am I doing? I'm fretting over whether or not I can do something. That's not me. I'm coming for all of it. It's time to lock in Akane Arakawa.
Very good stuff. I mean, look, it's a Kaichi chapter. Obviously, I'm a fan, but it's a good Kaichi chapter as well.
Even without it being a Kaichi chapter, it was nice to just have this moment for Akane where she's like, shit, this is really bad. And then at the end of the chapter, she's locked in again. It's nice to have the moment of doubt for the hero without dwelling on it. This was the right amount of time to spend on this moment, and it was done well.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's wrap up this week of manga by discussing One Piece chapter 1148, Ranya. So, one of the children, is being marched off the Arrow gangplank. It is Ranya, the good luck girl. And they note that The only thing underneath her at this point is the underworld. So Summers has them patch in, is basically like, hey, you got 30 seconds or the first one of these kids is getting pushed off this cliff. Tell Anya at the school teacher to set fire to the library right now. And there's, of course, a bunch of arguments for people who are just like, what are we going to do? That's my daughter, or like, we have to save her, or people like, no, that is all this history. There's a lot of different things. Nami is screaming like, are you really going to kill children? That's so fucked up. And he's just like, did I ask for the opinion of insects? Very, very douchey answer in response. A bunch of people are trying to get to like save this. Dory and Bragi on their way. Ripley is going to go as well. But Summers continues. He's like, in addition, when the library is burned down, you are not allowed to remove a single book from them. What we want to burn down is your culture and your history. And that is enough for Robin. She cannot bear anymore. She strikes at him with a palm strike, sends him flying. Jinbei does take the moment to be like, hey, we don't know how this guy works. These guys seem to be immortal. And Robin's like, I do understand that. Immediately hits him with a clutch attack. And they're like, holy shit, I heard things break.
It's vicious.
But she's like, she remembers. They're immortal. You can't beat them. So as Summers is starting to sort of reconstruct himself, he's continuing. He's like, you got 20 seconds until the kid falls. Robin just grabs onto him and launches them both off the side of the branch. And he's like, what are you, in love with me or something? Or, oh, holy shit, I'm in for love, but not a lover's leap. He's a real, he's got a lot of quirks and jokes that he does as he falls off the side of this. But Robin notes, she's like, I'm well aware that you're immortal and have thorn-based powers, but as long as I remove those invisible thorns, we can save the children. And Summers finishes that thought by being like, so you want to move me out of the range of my power, basically. You're a clever woman. But he covers himself in thorns, pierces Robin all the way through, and her body turns to petals. It was a duplicate. And the real Robin...
Good double gambit there.
Yeah.
Nice reveal.
And Robin is up there trying to free her friends, but she notes that her knife can't even cut through this arrow. So it looks like the captured Straw Hats are also in a very similar, like, until this person gets the thing removed, like, until they're out of range or they defeat Gunko, these people are just trapped.
Gunko really did a number on Brooke, too. That dude looks like a mummy right now.
Yeah, it's very funny the level of bindings people have. Like, Nami and Jinbei are both adequately restrained. Usopp's barely restrained at all. I assume his hands are tied up, but, like, everything else free. Brooke, yeah, as you said, complete mummy. Summers, unfortunately, is not going to be defeated so easily. He is caught himself by a thorn to the branch, and he continues. He's like, hey, time to speak up, Ja Rule. Make sure he hears the kid's voice, Gunko. And poor Ranya is like, hey, Chief Ja Rule, I love the school. It's where all my friends are, and I love the library that tells you where all the books are, and the teachers at school taught me this beautiful lesson that you shouldn't cause trouble for other people or do things that make them upset. And I know if we lose the library to, like, save me, then it would make everyone really sad, so I think I should fall, and I'll be okay, because I'm a lucky girl. I bet everything will turn out fine. And, the countdown goes to 2-1. Yarul shouts out to Anja to set fire to the school, burn down the library, which she hears that message. And Summers even returns and covers Robin in a whole bunch of thorns. It seems really, really bad. And then someone shows up, and Summers' left hand gets cut off. And he goes, huh? It's not coming back. And the person says, been a while, eh? And Summers, with a great expression, just goes, Scopper-Gabon! And then gets slashed again. And that is where we are ending the chapter.
Yeah. I have to admit, this short little sequence with this random little girl really got me. Just this very, you can kind of, it's a very poetic thing, but you can also kind of see a little kid explaining her reasoning like this will be bad for everyone, so I think I should go instead. and I'll be okay. And she's obviously doesn't believe it, trying to put on a brave face, but her face is swimming with tears. It's a really nice moment of tension to build this up and make you feel really, really good when Gaban comes in and fucks up that asshole. So,
very much so.
Good chapter.
Very, very good chapter. A lot of cool stuff. But Nick, in this great week of manga, we still have to pick favorites. We still have to pick our favorite series and MVP, which is an extremely hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Ninja messaged me on like Monday, like, do you want me to just write in Kaichi for you for character of the week? And I was like, please don't. He has so much competition this week. I do not know yet.
Yeah.
I do think I know my picks though.
Yeah, I do as well.
Go ahead.
I just think it's an easy transition for me to say this and say that Rania is my MVP. Very, very short amount of time, and I'm probably a year from now, if you ask me, is like, do you remember why you chose her for MVP? I'll be like, who? But
like what?
But this was just a very effective, quick moment that happened with her that was really heart wrenching. So I gotta acknowledge that.
I'm gonna give my favorite series, I think, to Marriagetoxin, because that was a great chapter. Like every page was just super entertaining, exciting, a lot of like tension building up in it. Really like the reveal of the grandma is just like a cool moment. I don't know, everything really came together in a cool way in that chapter, but legitimately, I think so many series could earn that for me this week.
Yeah. There were a lot of cool fights. There were some cool moments, some cool setup bits. And then there was Sidcraft. Marriagetoxin is going to also be mine as well. I thought that it was a very effective chapter for building up tension. And I really want to see what's going on, not just to find out what's happening in the immediate effect here, but also to try and find out, like, what the fuck did you do with everyone, Sensei? What have you been doing? Like, I want to find all that out. So I'm really excited about that.
Robin looks so cool this week. God, I thought I had it, and now I'm wondering if I don't. I feel like this sucks. There's so many good picks this week. Robin's great. Kaichi.
Goku Raku had that cool moment.
Goku Raku.
Yeah.
Shinomiya had a pretty cool chapter this week as well. Yeah. Zuma looked awesome. Like, he didn't get to do a bunch, but like him grabbing the head and be like, there you are, bam. Like, that stuff ruled. I think I'm gonna end up giving it to Kaichi. I'm gonna go with my heart, and I'm gonna say it was really, really nice to see him again. It was an instant reminder of how like good he is as a character and like what makes him so effective. And I love the little lesson he gives to Akane to like pick her back up. It was a nice way to utilize the fact that this guy and her are like siblings in this family now. So like it's cool to get to actually utilize that.
It's a very interesting dynamic that they have, that he holds her in high regard as his like senpai when he is like twice her age and has all that life experience to mentor her in a way. It's a very interesting dynamic.
Very much so. The audience, by the way, picked One Piece as the chapter of the week and Robin from One Piece as the character of the week, which makes sense. But as I said, this week, I feel like almost everything except maybe New Exorcist and Sidcraft had like a shot at something. And even Elio as MVP, I could kind of see.
I could see that. Yeah.
Even though you would, I feel like as a fan, be like, well, this is probably the last chance I'm ever going to have to do it. So
yes. It's the Elio memorial vote that I'm placing for. That is going to do it for this week of manga, guys. So thank you for joining us. We will be back next week on Tuesday. I just want to confirm that instead of Wednesday. I got something going on next Wednesday that's going to make me unavailable, so we're doing it Tuesday next week. That's going to be the 20th of May. And we will have more manga for you here on twitch.tv/RoloT. There's also weeklymangarecap.podbean.com if you want the older episodes of the show in audio form. They're also on iTunes and Spotify. Video versions on youtube.com/weeklymangarecap. where there's also an opening sequence at the beginning of each episode by Malajack Stillitz and Wednesday.Cheddar. And some episodes have a cool title card by Steve Man, whose artwork you can check out by just searching for Steve Man Art all across the internet. You can find him. We want to thank people who are on our Discord server, which will be linked wherever this is posted. You can use that to find the Google Doc maintained by Ninja X3i, who also runs the WMR Votes BlueSky account. We're also in BlueSky, by the way. Weekly Manga Recap, Rollo T, and Nick F. Time. If you want to leave a recommendation, if you want to find out what series we've done as recommendations before, if you want to see all the MVP and favorite series voting from weeks past, they're all on that Google Doc. And speaking of recommendations, just want to say that we will be looking at, since, it seems like we can't get a sports manga to save our lives in Shonen Jump, we're going to be looking at a sports manga that is currently running, just not in mainline Jump, Rugby Rumble!
We're reading Beast Children again?
Yes! So, that is what we'll be taking a look at next time. It's a rugby manga. And, hey, we also got some other stuff going on with Patreon. So be sure to check out patreon.com/weekly manga recap. If you financially support the show by just chilling us a couple of bucks, then you get access to all sorts of bonus content, including potentially a fair amount maybe coming down the pipeline. But more details on that will come later.
Should note, by the way, all of the bonus pods that have been recorded have been put up. We'll still be recording some more to make up for a month or two that we missed. But the newest one that just went up is a draft. But different than our previous draft where we drafted NFL teams. This time we draft Shonen Jump characters to fill out the faculty at our fictional schools. So if you'd like to know who the faculty at St. Quinn's Academy is going to be, or Nick's school, whose name I forgot.
Whatever mine was called.
I believe it was a Yu-Gi-Oh reference of some kind. You can definitely go check that out. I just remember it was TTT, something like...
It was Toriyama Takahashi Tech.
That's it. There we go. So... We
took very different approaches, and spoiler, I think Quinn's was way better than mine.
No, we don't say that. We have to wait. The audience will be the one to decide that. But if that interests you, you can find it on the Patreon. Just $5 get you access to it, and you can get access to all the old bonus pods as well. So, use your money as you feel free. But if you want to support the show, it does help.
Yeah. That's going to be it for this week, so we will be back at an unusual time next week. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thank you so much.
Do you have any, wild plans because it's a Tuesday?
I got to interrupt my my bacon pelting routine that I do every Tuesday.
Bacon pelting? Like you pelt bacon at people?
Yeah, I don't know if it's that or if I throw stuff at bacon or if I make pelts out of bacon.
I was going to say, there's so many different ways this could go. I mean, bacon is already a kind of pelt when you think about it.
Oh my God, you're right. What have I been doing with my life? I could just leave it intact instead of carving it up and then re-stitching it together. Come on, me.
I could just be covering myself in bacon. What am I doing? Bye, everybody.